in the absence of some sort of supernatural
Yeah, but what?
thing.
But those things happen because of a particular reason, right?
Yeah,
Because you took psychedelics, or you
no,
had
but they
like
wouldn't.
you're lucidly dreaming,
Yeah, but they couldn't
or
happen. It doesn't matter because that would still just if you're talking about an astral traveling where you just feel like you're sort of visiting heaven or something, sure, that is one thing. But the point is that we've got other things that are evidence that there's something genuinely real going on that's not just in your mind. What is that? For instance, precognition, right? There are people that have like dreams that are very precise and end up like reliving that dream very exactly, in the following upcoming days or weeks or even years. So, how would that be possible if there wasn't some sort of supernatural thing going on? You see, so to me, that like is, for instance, is very good evidence of that. Also, clairvoyance for stuff that's happening right now,
I
telepathy.
I think that what you're talking about is interesting. I think that's an interesting question to ask because I've had that before. We have deja vu,
Yeah.
but but I wouldn't jump to any sort like, I would just say that's it's an interesting thing that happens, and we should research more into it, but I wouldn't jump to, like, that there's a Gorth or, like, there's,
Well,
like, an ambivalent creature that's actually or AI that's doing all the, work behind the scenes.
again, I would contend the
Could it
opposite.
exist? Could it exist? Sure, but, like, there's not any hard evidence that it does.
Well, I'm glad already you acknowledged that it could exist. I mean, many people don't. And like, what I would add is if deja vu, if it's just a feeling, if you just feel that you've already seen something, that is not enough evidence. My point is that some people, okay, we have to believe that they're telling the truth, but supposing that they're telling the truth, and considering that how many people are saying this and people that don't seem to have like psychiatric issues, like as long as they are saying the truth, that is evidence. If they're saying the truth, that is pretty much
But our eyes and our senses can deceive us, can they not?
yes and no. I mean, it kind of they can to a certain extent, but I don't like.
Does I mean, here's an example, right? Radars exist, right?
Mhm.
Different wavelength of light exist. We just can't. I mean, we can't see them.
Yeah, yeah,
They exist.
yeah.
They're undetectable by our eyes, but we can make things that like show that like, hey, that this thing exists. We can manipulate them.
Mhm.
Um, our eyes are like there's all this type of radiation that it is going or like it's going on around us. Like we can't see it, but it's kind of a thing that we can't detect it, we can't see. But we could create things, we could create evidence for these things to exist and make solid scientific conclusions that these things exist. So if this Gorth exists or this
Mhm.
realm exists, then we should be able to draw like pretty hard scientific like claims in order for it to in order for it to exist, and to show it exists. You see, like the reason why I
Yeah,
say it's like a
but
possibility, yeah, sure, it possibly
mhm,
could be exist, but like my framework of how like I would say like what's the proverbial way we describe the natural world
mhm,
around us and for
mhm.
like why things happen is to go through a rigorous scientific process in order to say, hey, these are the things that are happening.
Yeah, I would contend that this is a rigorous, maybe meta science. It's the same spirit as a scientific process. Maybe not quite the same way because it's a sort of different issue, right? Because it's not a material thing, but it's still very much it's still rational, right? It's a rational, logical thought process, of epistemological discovery process. So it's
I
as
think it
scientific
went
as it can
down
be.
I think it went down a logical line of thinking, but like I think just the basis of where you're like the
Oh,
foundation of where you're basing that logic is very flawed.
I would disagree. Again, think about it this way. Again, if these okay, imagine you had a dream, okay, and so that way we don't have to worry
Okay.
about whether or not people are lying or are being, misled or something, where they have some sort of psychotic, disease that makes them sort of think things that aren't true. Imagine you have a dream, okay? It's very sort of very precise, very, you've got very sort of specific elements. You've got a couch of a certain color that's right here. You've got a table of a certain color right there. A certain layout. You're in a room, say, okay, and you've got this layout of stuff, and you have a particular person, and you're saying a particular thing to a particular person, or then that person responds a particular thing back, and then, well, so you have this dream, you sort of remember it, then you sort of half forget it, and then, sometime later, you happen to be in this very situation in a room that you've never been to before because you're like going to a new acquaintance's house or something, and you're having that discussion with that person that you dreamt of, and you end up hearing the exact same words that you heard in the dream. Uh, how would that be possible without some sort of genuine
I, I
precognition
I don't
happening?
know, but that's not evidence for Gorth.
It's evidence that
Like,
there's no. It's evidence for essentially for a. It's not evidence for a malicious entity, but it is evidence for some sort of supernatural thing that is basically calculating the future. So it's what they call a Laplace demon.
how is that?
It's basically, yeah,
How is that evidence for that?
because it shows that like literally that there is essentially what is happening is that there's information that's being transmitted from an actual real situation to your mind backwards in time. Now, backwards time travel is not
Oh,
possible.
okay,
So
but can that be possible without a some sort of supernatural creature
no, it's
or
not.
thing existing?
How on earth could you see how on earth could you see a future
Well,
event otherwise?
I mean, yeah. So that's, I mean, that's a theory that is a theory that exists within science that about like, is the future already determined?
Yeah,
It's unproven. We don't know if the future has already happened, and we exist on this kind of like plane of a predetermined future. We don't. Well, it's a hypothesis, but it's not like, I mean, it's not, no, it's not, it's not certain. What I've heard in when it comes to regards of like things like deja vu is I have heard that it is like we perceive events like it's not, it's doesn't, like, we have the feeling that it's happened before, and we have the feeling that we've had the dream before,
mm,
and we like, you could have had like a very similar dream that is like that like has played out very similarly in real life, but it's not necessarily the same thing. And just because you have that feeling of the thing happening already doesn't necessarily mean that that brain, that like the dream that you had predicted the future.
yeah, of course. Okay, but I mean, we're sort of here in this sort of thought experiment. We're like saying for the sake of the argument here at least that you did actually have that dream and you did sort of make note of it before and like you do know that you had that very same dream. I mean, my point is if you really did have that very same dream, then that would be pretty much evidence that there's something very weird going on. I don't believe in backwards
Well,
time travel,
well,
so yeah.
like, okay, but here, like, here's the thing though too. Is like,
Mm,
I mean, we dream every night, you know.
mm,
There's a lot of things like we don't know why we dream. We don't know, um, you know, like what dreams could or couldn't mean or shit like that. There's a lot of things we don't know about fucking dreams. Like in nature.
mm.
Um, it could just be like, I think we can build out scenarios in our head that we could dream that that can result in similar scenarios that could play out in real life. Like
Yeah,
I like just on a statistical basis.
I
I think it's possible that you could have a very similar, like, you could dream at one point and have a very similar event that could happen. Again, you dream every night, 365 days a year. Average human lives 80
I know.
years. It's a lot of dreams that one could have that could, possibly play out.
I know, I know. It's just the impression I get. So I haven't had this happen to me, so I can't really comment about that from my own experience. It just the way I'm reading these things, it really seems like it just too like it seems to coincide too much. Like it just so much stuff. It's still even statistically, it would still be very unlikely for it to happen, even if you take into account the fact that there are people like dreams, have loads of dreams, and so sure you would expect to be there's some similarity, but not the exact particular scenario. And so, and combined with the other evidence we have for other supernatural stuff, including some of the stuff I've experienced myself and stuff, you know,
It's not
and
necessarily
so
like, it's not always exact. I don't think it's ever exact. I think people say it's exact, but I think like I don't think so. I think it's more like it's very similar to what things happen. But if we were to actually analyze a dream itself, if we had a way to like play back the dream in like a TV on a TV screen and compare the TV screen to what actually happened, I'm sure we could point out like these things didn't like exactly that these things didn't like exactly happen. To the
Yeah,
same degree.
but are you actually sure? No, we don't. We don't really know. We can't really know whether it was or not. So basically,
Yeah,
like
we
you're just no, you're basically presuming that it wasn't exactly like that, and I'm presuming that it sometimes was, and we can't really know for sure either way.
so if we can't really know, then how could we move forward with a conclusion?
Well, again, because we don't know for sure. But my point is, then we've got other evidence for other supernatural stuff, and I feel like combined, there's there's lots of stuff that's indicating that like okay, we don't know maybe
Well, what's the
precognition
other
from
stuff?
well you've got uh, like clairvoyance, telepathy, telekinesis,
No,
the near the
that's all that's bullshit. All of that is bullshit.
no,
Well,
like there's
like
similar evidence.
clairvoyance. Well,
There's
no,
similar
no,
evidence with.
like, dude, these people are fucking crooks. Like
Oh yeah,
the
sure, the
people who
professionals.
I
Yes,
feel.
I agree. I agree. But that's the whole point. Why are they crooks? Why are they not able to do something like consistently? It's precisely because they get their stuff from the Gorth, which is a malicious entity. If the Gorth gave
But
them the right,
how do you get to, wait,
okay,
couldn't these people just be fraudsters trying to make money?
yeah, of course. So just like that, of course, is not enough evidence. The point is that there are actually a whole like array of studies that do indicate that like some people have like some capacities for clairvoyance, but it's individual events. See, it's not just they're not able to consistently do it precisely because that I mean that would indicate that
Yeah,
there's
that's
it's a
the
malicious
foreign
thing.
side.
Okay, but you see what I mean. But there is
Yeah,
evidence that they're able to not consistently do it, but they're still able to do it
yeah.
sometimes. Okay, so that's my point.
Rastafari actually that was actually a pretty fucking good meme. Uh, he says, I think they believe in the grift.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they believe in it.
Okay.
And
Uh,
again, I think
but
because it feels kind of like it feels kind of true to them because they're actually getting it from an outside source. It's just that sometimes it's wrong, and because so that's my
yeah,
explanation.
but just
Of course,
because something feels one way doesn't necessarily mean that it's like true.
no, of course not, of course not. But my point is that we also have like indications that it is true, like because again, you'd have to, I spent lots of time reading this. I didn't record like the sources and stuff, so it'd take a long time to give you like interesting links to read about this stuff. But over the time that I've sort of spent poring over this, it just seems like overall, I find the case for the existence of supernatural phenomena to be a compelling one. Again, I'm not, I
I
wasn't initially into that. As a kid, I was non-religious. I'm still non-religious. I was, very much a sort of rationalist. I thought that Santa Claus was like a bunch of store employees that were hired to sneak into people's houses by going into their chimneys and dropping the presents instead. Like I
mm,
remember that I came up with that hypothesis because I thought that Santa Claus wasn't plausible. You see, so like
yeah.
my point is that I'm not the type of person who believes in, fairy tale stories. I'm really basing myself on actual, you know, m- testimonials that I
I
find
think you're
relatively credible. Yeah.
I think you're valuing testimonials versus like scientific discovery here.
But
Um,
again, I would contend that testimonials are they're valid part of scientific discovery. We accept testimonials.
I
For
would
instance, like
highly disagree with that.
for instance, like whether or not there's a certain, like there's an animal that we think might have gone extinct, and you're not sure, and you like ask the villagers if they've seen like the animal in the forest or not.
Oh,
We
okay,
and
okay, yeah, but no, that's really good. That's really good. Hold on, that's really good because then, like, the scientist or the person, like the anthropologist, I forgot, whoever, like the person who's really educated in this stuff, then goes and looks out for that, like, for that creature, and then makes a scientific discovery based upon like those leads. Like those things can be leads. What you're talking about is like leads,
yeah,
but like it's you gotta bring in the actual scientists to like show that these things actually exist.
Okay, so but we've done that. So what has been done? There've been studies where they determine, like they do tests on, like, for instance, telepathy. They have like two people in separate rooms, and one person gets shown an object, and the other person has to guess what that person was shown, and nobody ever gets it like consistently at all. But statistically, it's more than the often overall. It seems to be that the results are better than chance. For instance. So
Wait,
that's
wait,
one
wait.
example of
So
that.
how do you can we do telepathy right now?
Statistically, so it wouldn't be so like most of the time it would just be like
How many
closer. It would be
fingers? How many fingers am I holding up?
three.
Okay. How many fingers I'm holding up now?
Two. I have no idea. The point is that like that doesn't mean anything, right?
So you
I
got the
don't.
first one right. You got the first one right. I was holding up three.
Okay, but why did I say three? Is because I was the most like people tend to sort of go for the middle value. People tell you like choose a random number between
Is
something,
that
and
because of the? Is that because of the Gorth, or is that
no.
because?
That is not, that's not Gorth. Okay, that is just the way we sort of tend to think. We tend to think that the sort of the middle of the pack is the most random one, which is actually not true. And so it seems more random to choose a middle one, which is why I chose three. You see,
Okay, so
um,
maybe that's why like these telepathy tests, like is could you think that's like a possibility as to why people pass these telepathy tests? And I don't know how credible these telepathy tests are
well,
uh,
if
to
it's
begin with,
that,
but
if the
that'd be a
test is
conclusion.
if the test is vulnerable to that kind of bias, yes. But if you have some other kind of thing that doesn't have that kind of bias, then I would say no, because in this case precisely, you're the person who's being shown it's selected randomly. So it's not the person. The person doesn't choose. If the person was choosing, then yes. If there's the person, was choose to have a three, and then the other person had to guess, then that person would be able to cheat. But if the person was just
Okay, but
chosen a random, see, yeah.
how is that okay? But again, how is this evidence that Gorth exists, like with
Okay,
telepathy?
at that point, it's not evidence that Gorth exists. That's just evidence that there's some sort of really weird supernatural shit going on. Okay, we don't
But you
yet.
just gave a pretty like logical answer as to why like these telepathy tests could be proven. Not it's not because of some sort of supernatural powers, because of human
No,
psychological
no.
ability.
Again, no, because if you, instead of you choosing to do the three fingers, you had instead given the amount of fingers that was based on a number that was given to you randomly by a computer, then I couldn't have done that psychology trick, right? Because then it would be true randomness, and then we would just be expecting to have a true random guess. And what we
Well,
see
wait,
that,
isn't the creator of the Gorth a an AI?
no, the Gorth is an AI, but it's not like, my point is it's an AI, but a supernatural AI. It's sort of an equivalent, a supernatural equivalent to an AI.
And humanoid beings created the
Yeah,
Gorth,
yeah, that's a
and
speculation.
but are these humanoid creatures, are they supernatural too?
No. They're like us, right? But we can be supernatural in as much as we can go do this astral traveling stuff, which means that we're then, outside the material world in this Zeld thing. And so in that sense, we are kind of supernatural too, potentially, when you go, like, quote, going out of body, right? So that's how it was done. It's like people went out of body and they created. Again, this is my hypothesis. I don't like, it's pure speculation, but it's still rationally informed speculation.
I don't think this is rational.
Well, I would
I
say,
mean, I think you're following a line of logic. I just don't think that the starting point is rational.
well, again, because I get the impression that you tend to be swayed more by the anti-supernaturalist arguments. And so, I mean, first
You,
you'd have to be convinced by the existence of supernatural stuff, which I already was convinced a lot before I became convinced about the Gorth. So I think it's a sort of two-step process. First, you have to be convinced about that there is some sort of
well,
supernatural stuff. Yeah,
you can't produce any of this in a science like a lab.
yeah. But you can do tests about it, right? Like I said, you can do that telepathy test, for instance. That's a great test. And there, overall, like this, most studies indicate that there is a moderate positive result. Meta-analyses indicate that overall, the studies indicate that there is a positive thing. So there
Wait,
is
what are
something.
these? What are these telepathy tests?
Or like, I'd have to like research them and find them for. I mean, you could do it yourself, a Google search. I mean, it wouldn't. You know, I mean, I don't have like the stuff stored, so we'd have to re-find them. But it's stuff like what I told you, right? It's stuff like what I told you. The example of a person has to guess what the other person is thinking. You know, that's
Do you
essentially
What
know
am I?
who
it.
do you, do you know who James Randi is?
Yeah,
Hey, you
and he.
guys, you guys talk for a little bit. I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be
Oh
back.
yeah, and I'm
So
sorry, actually. Yeah. Go ahead. I've been monopolizing.
yeah, so you know who James Randi is, right? So I don't need to explain it. So for
Yeah.
people who don't know who James Randi is, he was a magician, a professional magician, and he ended up going on and like debunking a whole bunch of like psychics and stuff like that, and people who claim they had supernatural powers. But like every time their story before James Randi got to them sounded somewhat convincing, and then you saw like video of these guys doing it. But then when James Randi ended up getting to them, every single time they were just wrong. Like it just didn't matter what it was. They were just wrong. They couldn't reproduce the thing they said they could produce. And whether it was telepathy, whether it was moving objects without touching them, whatever it was, he could like debunk it. I don't think any of that stuff is real. I don't think it's ever been proven. And I think every time it's been under test and under scrutiny, people find a way to prove that it's not real at all. There's just I don't think there's any foundation for believing that like psychics and like telepathy and all that stuff works. There's just no evidence for it really, because whenever you try to do these, like reproduce these experiments, you just can't do it. It just won't happen.
So I actually have looked at that, and from what I could tell, Randy was not trying to determine whether or not these things were existing. He was just trying to show that, he was trying to show people that those things were false. He had a foregone conclusion, and he was actually, from what I could tell, he was actually acting quite dishonestly, because there are plenty of other people who do find positive evidence for supernatural stuff. And I've looked into this, and it seems that Randy was not being particularly honest. He did lots of stuff. He essentially wanted the experiments to fail, and he essentially had requirements that would ensure that they would
You,
fail. I've looked into this. I can't remember the details. I'd have to go back into it to give you like a sort of a better example of
you
how.
you understand, James Randi's profession was a magician, the art of like illusion. If there's anybody who understands this stuff, it's like him. He probably understands it better than like most people. And what he hates is people being dishonest and saying they have some sort of power that's not real. James Randi's not in the illusion that like magic's real or anything. It's just like most of it's just optical illusions and stuff like that. And James Randi sees the same people doing that. And I honestly don't even think there's anyone better to debunk these people. Not like therapists, not like fucking what's the guy's face? Bald dude, bald therapist who does TV shows.
Uh,
That fucking guy.
can't remember.
You know what I'm talking about?
Dr. Phil.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Dr. Phil. Yeah, like even Dr. Phil wouldn't be as good as James Randi because James Randi's in the same profession as what these frauds are trying to do.
but
And
my
you can say
point.
these experiments are dishonest. No, you can say these experiments are dishonest, but like he'll always bring on like a board of like neutral objectors and he'll always have like pretty well thought out experiments. So for example, one of them was he could like see the person before they could like when they're at like a door or something like that. It was something weird like that. So he had five random people stand on different doors, right? And then like he ended up like showing that this guy can't reproduce that like experiment. It wasn't like dishonest at all. There's no way that experiment was dishonest. I actually contend that I need to see evidence of that because I've seen a lot of those, and James Randi seems to do a well thought out job of like giving a scenario that's pretty neutral, and then giving people that are neutral, and then like people claim to have these powers, but it's never been proven ever. Just hasn't.
I just
Okay.
entered the Gorth. I'm back.
Okay. Again, I'd have to re-look at that more and look more like in detail about the stuff. Admittedly, I can't really no say enough. I remember just reading criticisms about the methodology of James Randi. And that I remember that I found it quite compelling. I don't remember the exact detail of the thing, so I can't further elaborate on that, unfortunately. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't think Randy was being intentionally dishonest, certainly. I just think that, I mean, Randy
Oh,
did, I think that Randy did.
wait,
What?
Sorry, I just gotta add this. Okay, the Gorth is okay. The Wikipedia. Okay, the Gorth.
God damn it.
The Gorth is a creature in Star Wars. Gorths were a type of creature with a tail that attracts flies. When a rebel pilot, this might be a meme, dude. I think you might be believing in a meme.
The Gorth.
Gorth is short. Wait, what?
Do Google images.
Well, oh wait, do IMDb. Wait,
There's a
the
movie.
Gorth will walk
the
you through
movie?
the underground's black market of organs and the gruesome that. Dude, this is a movie about like fucking organ sale. Organ sale.
Oh
shit.
yeah.
Do,
Oh yeah.
do Google images, but take it off your stream because I don't want you to fucking get in trouble.
Nathaniel, I
what?
think you're a little lost in the Sarlacc pit.
What? What?
Either way, we can call it the Gore, we can call it whatever. I just think the concept in general is just really silly. Like, I just don't think it has any basis.
Wait,
Again,
where did you
yeah.
see this from?
Okay,
Wait,
so
where, like,
okay,
who-
so I'll type it. I'll type it in the stream.
Am I spelling it right? Gorth?
Okay, so this is where I got it. But he calls it the garbage instead of like um yeah, he calls it the garbage instead of the gorth. But I decided to call it the gorth just to avoid having the confusion of having a synonym. If you see what I mean.
Okay, it's okay. We'll do
This is
it.
a good leveling area. Fuck.
Wait, what is this? Wait, okay. Wait, what is with this HTML, dude? This was like written, this was like made in like 19
Oh my god, it
90s.
looks like every single like super religious site I've been to that's been like, we have proof of a flood on Earth or Jesus. I'm
Dude,
sorry.
when I did a deep dive into Hyperborea, this is exactly like the formatting I saw.
This
Yeah, but
looks
I think it's
exactly
more
like
simple. I think it just gets more simple to
Wait,
do
what?
because you know, he had to learn. I mean, I think it's pretty remarkable that he's able to do that. You know, he's not a computer guy or any like. So
Archer, have you ever heard of Mud Fossil University?
Huh?
Hold
Wait.
on, I'm gonna send you a link to a YouTube channel.
Wait.
This guy, he has a video where he like says he found DNA in a rock. Basically, his whole thing is that there used to be a massive species of old titans that lived on the Earth that have all been like turned into rocks now, and all the rocks that are now on Earth, like his theory is that they were once alive. So he has a bunch of images of like rocks that look like, you know, like apparatuses and like body parts. It's so cool.
yeah, see, I don't believe
Actually,
that.
the funniest.
See, I wouldn't believe that because I think that when it comes to material stuff, well, our current science is, you know, is pretty trustworthy, and there's no indication of anything like that happening. So again, I don't think, yeah, that to me is not a plausible hypothesis. Um, whereas the Gorth, I think, is. I know it sounds weird because you know you say that there's no good evidence. I think there's loads of evidence, and again, it's just some people choose to basically discount it, others choose to believe in it, and so this is sort of why we kind of end up disagreeing.
the reason why we say it's not good evidence is because you just don't discount it or discount it. It's because it's evidence, right? Like it's not. It has nothing to do whether you believe that evidence or not. That's the whole point of evidence, right? Is like we have something we can put down, like you know,
Mhm.
do I bleed if I cut myself? Yeah,
Mhm.
I do bleed if I cut myself, right? I see the evidence in doing that, right? But you
Yeah.
could not believe that you bleed if you cut yourself. You totally can do that. It has nothing to do with belief, though. Like that's not what evidence
Yeah.
is.
really interesting. Like I think it's just an interesting tidbit of that. Like your body knows how, like, okay, like your body knows how, like your body has information, your brain and your body have information that you just don't have access to. I think that's a cool thing that exists, right? Because like when you cut yourself, like you don't think about like how your body is doing it. Your body
Yeah.
just like does it. Where your brain just like if you're experiencing pain, your brain just does it. You don't know how the fuck your brain is doing it, but it's obviously doing it in a manifestable way, and it's been doing it for since humans like existed. It works, but like that information, it's like cut off from our brain. We just don't like you don't have access to that particular information. It took years of scientific understanding in order for us to like understand that. How like if you cut yourself, how and why you bleed, it's just shit like that. It's pretty cool. Really cool little tidbit, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, yeah.
I would say it's the Gorth as a
No, that
result, but yeah.
no, that I mean, no, but this is not because we've got an explanation for that. My point is like if you have a dream and it ends up coming true, and like it happens to be the exact same thing, you don't have a good explanation for that, and there literally looks like there's something supernatural going on, and I think that is evidence. That's like literal empirical evidence. It doesn't even require belief. It's true. Like you should believe in it, and like literally, if you don't believe in it, and if it's happened to you, you're being irrational. You're denying evidence. That's
Did
just
I believe all my dreams? I should believe all my dreams.
no, 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 no. What I'm
What
saying
if
is
what
no,
if
no,
I'm
no.
experiencing like sleep paralysis? Should
Oh
I
man, I've
do
done
those
that.
things actually exist?
The
Well,
fuck's
I mean, if you experience it, yeah. I mean, those testimonials seem pretty convincing. It does seem like that does happen. Yeah.
No, no, it happens, but do like the things that happen in sleep paralysis actually exist?
Well, that there is no evidence for. See, that's different. See, because the point is that you can only have evidence for it if it can be corroborated then by real world things. So exactly, like the dream, the
Wait, but
way
how
you
could you?
prove
How
it
could you?
exists. See, the way you prove the dream
Yeah.
exists is because then it happens in real life. If it doesn't happen afterwards in real life, there's no way you can prove. So all this astral travelings where people go like to heaven and stuff, there's no way to prove that because it can't be
Wait,
corroborated in
but if
real
I
life.
don't know the dream in if I don't know the dream in the first place, like just because someone says they had a dream and it happened in real life, I don't have evidence. Like I don't know
No,
what
you
they
don't have.
dreamt in the first place. We
No,
don't
you don't have.
we don't
But
we
that
don't have
person,
any. Yeah, we don't have any evidence. But like maybe this
but if you
person's
did,
misremembering.
okay, sure. But just presuming that person, like, okay, so that's why we don't know 100%. But if that person isn't misremembering, then that would be evidence, right? So from that person's perspective, that would be evidence. Of course, even that person might just have an implanted memory and would think that that person, that person might think that it had like had that dream, but actually it didn't. So yeah, sure. There's potential pitfalls there. Which is why, again, I'm not saying it's 100%. I'm just saying there's a fair amount of evidence. It's not it's not like for sure.
Oh, Archer, I just want to say really quickly, I sent you 4 videos from Mud Fossil University. I think they're all great stream content. They all cover a different topic. The one you would see first is Earth a corpse as Jesus said? There's also Living in the Eye of the Dragon, Blood from Rocks
What?
at Mud Fossil University, and Dragon Carcass Academic Review requested.
Oh, what? Alright.
Um, yeah,
Oh, that might be later tonight.
Okay,
I'll take a
okay.
look.
I don't want to interrupt the dialogue.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
yeah.
yeah. Again, I know my thing sounds crazy, and you just think I'm with some sort of weird nutter that comes on. Whatever. I don't care. I'm basing myself off of evidence. I don't just believe it because there's like some sort of, you know, it's not because of that dude there that I believe in it, right? It's more that that dude provides a compelling explanation for stuff that there's evidence for in a lot of different places. Um, like I
Yeah, but
already,
none of that's based in
well, it is,
science,
but
though.
it is.
Well,
It's empirical. It's
What is it? What
empiricism.
science?
It's based in empiricism.
you can
That is scientific
you
to me.
can be
Go ahead.
you can be compelled by an argument, but that doesn't necessarily make that argument true, right? Like you could be very, very compelled. You could believe all the evidence that's put in front of you of an
Uh huh.
argument, but that doesn't necessitate that it's like 100% accurate, 100% true. Even with some of like the opinions that I have, I somewhat have to share some level of skepticism that I could be wrong, right? Even if the evidence shows that I'm right, because I have to understand that like, hey, not everything's perfect, not everything makes sense. Sometimes evidence can
Yeah.
be misread, sometimes stuff can be wrong. You have to
Of
like
course.
have that like little slight bit of like skepticism instead of just going full gung ho and like it's a very compelling argument, so I believe it completely. Like it's that I mean, there's lots of other roads we can go down, where you
Mhm.
could believe in lots of horrible things. I'm not saying you're doing that, but like you could believe in lots of horrible things because you feel compelled with this argument. There's lots of very compelling arguments, and then people go and they do bad things because they feel compelled by the arguments that were put in front of them.
Yeah, but the problem is that these are people who aren't rational, whereas I am, basically.
You
But
don't think for a second that you could be irrational.
well, I am more rational than those people. Let's put it that way. I'm rational enough, basically.
No,
Um,
that wasn't the question. Do you not think you could be irrational?
I have my irrational moments, but overall, I'm pretty rational and more rational than most people. And again, the problem is that it's sort of hard to demonstrate, especially to a person who isn't as rational, because literally it takes one to know one. You know, you need to be rational to recognize rationality, and this is why I sort of struggle with this. And it makes you sound like a
And how do
crackpot
you?
when you,
How would you know? How would you know that you're rational?
or precisely because I can, I see that my beliefs fit logic, right? They fit, but the problem
I
is that
think we're all pretty ignorant, including myself. Like, I think we're all pretty fucking ignorant people.
I
I like to think I'm rational, but I understand that I'm not always rational.
Mhm.
I make irrational decisions all the time,
Yeah.
especially with like vices, right? Like caffeine is horrible for you. However, I consume the fuck out of that shit. You
yeah, but
know, it's
that's
an
different.
irrational thing to do.
That's different because you're aware of it. See, I have that too. You know, you've got you've got sort of addictions, right? But you're aware of it. See, that's the difference. If you weren't aware of it, if you thought you're just doing it out of your own free will, or you convince yourself that was good for you or something, then that would be irrational. But no, if you're just doing something because you can't help yourself, that is not irrational. I mean, you're aware of it, so you're
No,
not suffering
not
from.
at all, because you're not taking the steps to prevent it. That's an irrational process in and of itself, because you're not taking steps to prevent a harm to yourself.
Okay,
That in
but
and of itself is pretty irrational.
I agree, but if what if you have taken the steps? Okay, so you should. So yeah, then it's an irrational choice to not take the steps. Like I've taken steps to try to do it, and so I've limited the stuff that I can. I've just failed with the stuff that I can't. So but then I've done what I can. So you see what I mean? So
You never acted based on a feeling. Like you've never like
I
said some
have
stupid stuff. Just okay.
I
Like
have,
that's I mean
but I realized that I can't really help myself, right? And that I realized that I don't know what steps to take, and that I've tried some steps and they didn't work, and so I'm kind of stuck. And so as a result, yeah, sure, I just go off of a feeling, even though I know it's not good for me. Sure, sure.
well, that I mean that in and of itself though is like understanding some little bit of like irrationality about yourself. It's fine to be irrational as a human sometimes. Like like even speaking like to like what you're attracted to, it makes zero sense rationally why you're attracted to certain things, but you are, and we have like no explanation for it in some cases, and it's just you have to like kind of accept some irrationality in the world in order to like survive, because you can't be going through life thinking the whole time that every single thing I think of is rational, because I think if you do that you lead down to some like weird roads where you think that I can think no wrong, right? That's at least how I feel. That's like my perspective of understanding this.
Yeah, I would say my point is that you can make irrational choices, and of course your feelings are irrational. So you experience irrational feelings, you make irrational, your actions could be based on those irrational feelings. But at the same time, you always have a sort of, like kind of something that would vaguely correspond to a Freudian superego. There's something that's constantly there overseeing what's happening. And so you've always have this intellect that is aware when you're making an irrational decision, right? So you might experience irrational things, you might do irrational things, but you're still aware of it. So in that sense, you still aren't really irrational. To me, when you're irrational is when you aren't aware of your irrationality. If you're aware of it, then you aren't really irrational, right? I mean, you've got that, there's that part of you that is observing, and that observer there, that rational observer is irrational. It is rational, sorry. It's rational even if you don't obey it, if that makes
I
sense.
mean, I think it's okay. I see what you're coming from, but I think it's more like I think it is a rational thing to observation to make. Or I think okay, I think you are somewhat you okay. No person is 100% rational.
Hmm.
Okay, there's I don't think anyone here or anyone who's ever existed was completely irrational.
I agree.
We are all I think we are all pretty irrational people. Um and like I think you're framing things from you're looking at things from, well, I perceived myself to be a rational person, and you know what, they're probably like there are rational positions that you have. However,
Mhm.
I think you're framing this from like you're looking at this from like I'm a rational person. Look at these rational beliefs that I have. But
Mhm.
maybe all those beliefs aren't necessarily rational. And you're going down. I think you're validating your own argument here by presenting like you're like thinking yourself as being completely rational, where it's
Um,
just not the case. Like no one's 100. Like, dude, me too, man. Like I probably still believe. I definitely believe in things that right now that are fucking irrational as fuck. But I probably believe them to be rational. But
Wait,
I think, yeah,
you
having a healthy dose of saying that
that is
you're
weird.
rational, trying to really look at.
I don't think I'm sort of
Yeah,
surprised that you say that because I wouldn't. I think like irrational people don't believe that they're irrational. I mean, that's kind of that's the big problem, really, is that they don't recognize that they have an issue, and so I find it kind of surprising that you would acknowledge that you actually believe in irrational things. I mean, how can you believe in something irrational? Like literally, if you believe
because
in
I'm
something,
not because I don't have all of the answers to everything. I take a very Socratic point. Like, dude, Socrates is my
yeah,
fucking like I fucking love him.
yeah,
He's like my historical fucking mentor. Okay.
yeah,
I think acknowledging your ignorance and realizing that like we just don't have all of the evidence to everything. We don't know everything. So it's completely rational that people are irrational by our very nature because we just don't have the answers to everything. And when we don't have the answers to everything, we can sometimes what we'll do is we'll give credence to particular arguments that make sense and feel that they're right, but aren't actually correct, and that's just a lack of evidence. Like
yeah,
like the dream stuff, right? Like it's interesting that we have things like deja vu. It's really fucking
mhm.
interesting. We don't have a complete like a concrete answer as to why it happens, but where we go with that, I think you're I think where you're going with it isn't based in evidence.
Yeah, but again, I think you're kind of you have sort of preconceived notions of how the world works, and it's sort of like you've got a foregone conclusion that that stuff doesn't exist. I think most of these scientific-minded people, unfortunately, that's how they operate when it comes to these sorts of things, and which is why
Yeah,
it is
because
just dismissed.
it's not it's being dismissed for a reason. That's the thing. Is because like we should dismiss things that don't have any sort of like observational data or like data that we could bring into a lab
But the
that
things that they
like
do,
to observe.
they do and it does.
We just don't, just because people say they have a dream and like they say like they saw like what happened in real life is exactly what played out. We have no way of knowing because we don't have the dream on record. We have no like we'd have no ability to
Of
like
course.
put that dream on a television screen and compare what happened in real life versus to that dream. So we simply do not know if like what that person is saying is true or not.
I know, but we
and,
have
and
other
we like
stuff.
because we don't know that we can't jump to conclusions based on we can't go any further. We need more evidence.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But my point is that we've got other stuff that is more, like the out of body experience where somebody sees something that there's no way that person could have seen if it had just stayed in the body. Like the memories of people, of other people, like of dead people that, saying that I remember being this other person and having these memories. And then it turns out that there really was a person that did all those things. So that kind of stuff
but
is, you see,
you don't think it's like the brain, like like I'll have dreams of like like and I'm sure other people have had dreams of like of like symbolism happening, like a relative,
yeah,
like I'm talking to a relative about something.
yeah,
It could just possibly be that your brain is like at night
yeah.
is projecting the things that are currently existing in your life. It's projecting it like in your brain, and it's like it's playing that out in that dream. That could be a possible reason. Could be tons of reasons as to why these things happen. Again, we just don't know. Therefore, we can't jump to any sort of conclusions.
Yeah, but the point is that that can't be explained by just the brain, you see? Because like imagine so here I'm giving you a link because this is actually one that I saw recently. So I actually here's a link written in Scientific American, okay, that actually seriously considers like the idea of having memories from previous people. And honestly, they're not just trying to debunk it. They're literally saying there is actually lots of evidence out there for that. This is a good example. Scientific American actually saying it right there, um, flat out. Um,
How many peer-reviewed papers are written about it?
I don't know. There are a fair amount. I can't tell you. Okay, I can't tell you like how many.
Is
Um,
there one?
yeah, I like I can't tell you what
Okay.
it is or what it is. I am there's plenty. I mean, overall on all that sorts of stuff, there's plenty of like peer-reviewed stuff. But then of course it depends what do you count as a proper like peer review and stuff. And like the thing is that there's also tends to be a disinterest by the mainstream scientific community. There's a very low funding, mostly be relying on like philanthropists with a sort of interest in that kind of thing.
What?
Um,
Why is there disinterest by the mainstream scientific community?
and
It's not just because of funding, because a lot of things do get funded. Some things don't get funded. They don't have unlimited funding, but like there has to be a reason why like we don't study this in psychology so religiously, right? We study other
yeah.
things that we know might be a little bit more realistic.
Well, because it doesn't fit the current. It's not a material, right? Basically, the problem is that it doesn't fit at all with what we know about the world so far, right? It doesn't fit in with anything that we know about science so far, and as a result, they kind of just like to think that it's must not exist at all. But they have this foregone conclusion that it doesn't exist at all, instead of focusing on just whether or not it exists. And that's what we should be doing. Just be asking ourselves whether or not it exists, and just completely independently of whether or not we can explain it. First, you should ask, does it exist, yes or no, and only then should you try to explain it. And unfortunately, they're not doing that. They're basically saying we don't know if it existed, we wouldn't know how to explain it, so therefore it must not exist, which is a logical fallacy. And unfortunately, the establishment is actually engaging in that fallacy.
Well, I, so someone could bring up some sort of theory about some sort of like new experimental spacecraft, right?
Mhm.
And they're like, dude, this thing could totally work. I'm telling you, it'll do like all sorts of crazy shit. It'll go up, down, side to side. Doesn't need a runway to land. Like it does all this crazy shit. It
Mhm.
goes like millions of miles an hour,
Mhm.
right? And I'm like, all right, well, let me like see the evidence for that. Let me see you produce it. Well, it's like, well, it doesn't exist now, and we don't really have proof for it. But that doesn't mean it's not true, right? Like
No, no,
that
no.
that
I don't- I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I feel like that is not like a valid analogy in as much as like that is just a theoretical thing. There, it's not a question. Like we're not asking ourselves, is there evidence that this thing has existed? Whereas with these supernatural things, we literally are looking at testimonials of this thing existing. So again, the more valid comparison would be somebody who saw a UFO doing those things and then trying to ascertain whether that was actually true or not. Um, like you see what I mean? Like your thing is trying to determine whether something could potentially exist, whereas my thing is about determining whether something does exist, and
The
with there
the, the
being
thing
yeah.
the thing here is that you're like sure, okay, this is evidence for something. But like
Mhm.
this could be evidence for like a just like a like it's something in the brain that like a
Mhm.
trait in our brain that can be like explained differently. You're using this as evidence as to some side of for some from supernatural being.
Again,
When like these
not the
personal
brain.
testimonies could be evidence for something that just exists within the brain that we don't know yet.
No, it can't, because literally it wouldn't be possible. Like telepathy cannot be possible without some sort of supernatural thing going on, right? It cannot.
Okay, then maybe telepathy is bullshit.
Okay, but the thing is that there are lots of there have been studies on it, and the studies, the majority of them do indicate, not all of them, but a majority of them do indicate that there is a moderate positive effect, so that there's a moderate sort of telepathic effect just among average people. Um, so
Wait,
that's
hold on.
just one example. Okay, go ahead. You want to say something?
ability. No, I have to be a certain level. Fuck.
Bro, stop talking about that game.
Talking to myself. Calm down.
Okay, fine. Yeah, Fall Guys level. Gotcha.
Frustrating.
And again, yeah, and quantum entanglement, no. I think quantum entanglement, I don't believe it actually exists. And B, I don't think it would provide a compelling explanation for telepathy. I don't think quantum mechanics explains any supernatural things. I think that's a red herring. I think supernatural stuff is caused by either Gorth is much more satisfactory. I mean, I've looked into that, right? Whether or not like quantum mechanics, I don't know. I just never felt like that was really the explanation, and now I really don't. The Gorth is a much better explanation for this than quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics doesn't really. It's still why on earth would a couple of atoms being entangled enable you to actually see the thoughts of somebody else? No, it's tested and show quite real, so it exists. Yeah, but I've actually looked at this. The things they're not progressing in physics, in that realm, and honestly, it's there are people who are sort of looking at other explanations. Einstein himself, of course, never didn't like the concept of quantum entanglement. So I kind of just again, this is my hunch. I don't know, but I kind of just feel like it's looking like, it's not just a sort of irrational feeling here. It's looking at what they know. There could potentially be some other explanation that doesn't require quantum entanglement. And there have been papers on other explanations that don't involve quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement apparently requires that you accept certain beliefs that aren't actually proven. So it's actually quantum entanglement apparently is not actually proven.
Sorry about that.
All
Dude,
right.
someone just blew off a fucking massive fucking firework by my house.
Oh,
Firework.
okay.
You mean firearm?
Something, dude. I fucking heard a massive fucking like boom.
I have a friend who's from East Cleveland, and he goes, "Yeah, we play fireworks all the time. You know, you'll just hear him go off. Those M80s just rat-a-tat-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat-tat." He's talking about gunfire because East Cleveland's fucking crazy.
You just scared all the dogs, so I just said fucking dogs. I just brought one of
Fireworks
the
do
dogs here.
scare dogs. Yeah, that does happen. Ban all fireworks. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Well, they're banned in San Francisco. You're not allowed to. There's some guy
Really?
there's someone in my fucking neighborhood who just like blows up fucking fireworks every fucking like almost every night. This one
Really?
was fucking massive, dude. This must have been right by the house, man.
Oh man.
You must have a neighbor he fucking hates.
God, fucking dick.
Maybe it's you. It's you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was to punish you. Did you do something bad? Did you
Punish
park
you
your
for being
car somewhere in
irrational.
front? Yeah.
I thought someone hit a car. That's why I was like, "What the fuck?" And I just like I did because I was like, I
Oh, so
thought
it's
someone
really
hit
that
the
loud.
like
Yeah.
because my house is on is on like I'm not next to a house, like I'm a corner house.
Mm.
So right next to me is a street. So I thought someone hit a fucking car. Like right next to, because this is like right beyond this wall is the street.
Schrodinger's firework.
It was the Gorth. I think the Gorth was fucking
Yeah.
telling me.
True. You can't
They
just
they entangled the car and it transformed into a firework.
What if the Gorf was just a giant wampa, like the thing that tore off Luke Skywalker's arm?
It's the Force, dude.
Nah, I like it being the wampa.
You
That's way better.
pitiful fool.
You're
Only
right.
now you understand the power of the Gorth.
I want to go to I want to go to a doctor one day and I want to be like, "Hey, can you measure my metachlorine count and see if the Gorf's inside of me and see what they do?" I love that Robot Chicken episode where Bush goes in there and he's like, and the doctor's like, "Your metachlorine count's really high." Bush is like, "What? You mean like Jedi's and shit?" That skit was really funny.
Yeah.
You do want to have a you do want to have a three-way.
You do. There are weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. No, sir.
I don't know.
You couldn't find them, sir. No, sir.
fucking fights fucking Abraham Lincoln.
Dude, Robot Chicken's solid.
Yeah.
It's some great shit. They do consider so funny. It's gotta be so hard to do that show because you gotta come up with 10 different fucking skits every episode.
Hey, Annie! Boss goes down.
Honey, we got him!
I still think that fucking dude 24 times you want to fucking force choke Jar Jar Binks is like the best fucking YouTube title I've ever fucking seen. Hey, Miss Annie. All right, are we still on the Gorth?
Yeah, we can
I think we
change.
might have ran around that circle.
All right, what else do you believe in supernaturally?
Mud fossil.
What? What? What do I
Mud
believe in?
fossils.
I don't know what is that. What is that?
What else? What else do you believe in supernaturally besides the Gorth?
Oh
Well-
man, god damn it, I got a good one. But you're not
How
gonna
deep?
like it.
How deep can we take this rabbit hole?
Alright, I think the pussy has magical power over people. Alright, it has such a hold under some people that it has to be some sort of
It's a
mysterious.
Jedi. Dude, no, it's a Jedi. It's a Jedi fucking mind trick.
Alright, that was a joke. It didn't land as hard as I thought it would.
I liked it.
Well, yeah, I liked it. I'm sorry, I didn't actually like laugh out loud. But,
It's
like,
okay,
yeah,
you don't have to laugh. Alright, as long as you say you liked it.
Oh,
Like a stand-up comedian that goes up there and goes, God damn, you guys didn't like any of
Yeah,
this.
it-
Am I writing it? You make them feel bad.
it's like that video of that guy going to the city council meeting and doing his fucking stand-up.
He does the fucking stand up.
Ah!
Oh, it's so bad. Well, why? I don't understand why. The whole thing, I don't get it.
Why what? Why that? Why the
Oh, you
Gorth?
gotta pull up the video now.
Oh, you're talking
He
about
wasn't
something
that
else.
guy.
He
You're
wasn't
not that guy.
You're not that guy. You're not
You're
that
not
guy.
that guy.
Are you that guy? Absolutely.
You pimply
guy.
little shit.
Little shit.
You
You are that.
You
Have you seen that?
fucking pimp.
Have you seen that YouTube video where it's like the good ending and he's like, "You are that guy." They like edit it to say, "You are that guy." You are that guy. And it's like happy
Absolutely.
noises. There's like happy music playing in the background.
I got recommended some fucking trap remixes of. I was like really tempted to make that like a fucking sub with sub notification. You're not that guy.
You know, it's gotta be really fucked up. Is the guy who filmed that's like, people are gonna feel like I'm the victim, and then they just like meme about that guy forever. They forget the guy who's filming completely. They don't even care about what happened. It doesn't matter what happened.
Well, then no, but he said he was the guy.
You're right.
So you're not that guy,
Not that guy.
pimp. Fuck you right where you bleed. Fuck you right where you breathe. Suck on these and go vote for Biden.
What was the thing he said when he left the building? He said he had like a line.
Yeah, he's like, suck on these. Fucking grabs
love
his
that.
fucking ball sack and fuck.
That's true, yeah.
Alright.
Oh, it's so good.
Not that guy.
You're not that worth.
Things you'll see out of CVS and a Walgreens are fantastic. One time I saw like 2 ladies walk out. They looked pretty rough, alright? We'll say that. They look really rough and skinny, alright? You know what they walked out with?
Meth.
Things to make meth, absolutely, 100%. So much cough medicine. What is that stuff called to make meth? Fuck, it's not cough medicine. What is it? It's a
Cough syrup
It's a
and
no,
iodine and lye.
no.
How
it's
do
a-
you know that? Why do you know
well,
that?
there's like this video that circulated around Discord. It's like, don't take cough syrup, mix it up with iodine and lye.
Oh no, that was the whitest kids you know. I know what you're talking about. I knew exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Rip more.
Alright, what's next on the what else you guys want to talk about?
Mud fossil.
I don't know what the fuck Mud Fossil is, but I
He has some
don't know if I wanna get into
legitimately
another
good
giant-
ideas.
I don't know if I want to get to another conspiracy debate.
Alright, well, I'll screen share.
There's no conspiracy. Just he found blood on the rocks. He found the eye of the dragon. he found the corpse, and he found the dragon in Morocco.
You say Eye of the Dragon, and now I'm thinking Red Dragon. So now I'm thinking this dude's a fucking serial killer.
Listen,
and Edward Norton's gonna hunt him down.
He's gonna talk about the nictitating membrane of the eye in Tibet.
Earth is a corpse, as Jesus said. I think living in the eye of the dragon might be the one.
Oh,
Dude,
no.
that's
pretty
just
good.
that blood from rocks. That's probably rust. I would assume.
exactly.
I would assume that's probably rust, or
There's like a little bit of dried mud on it.
This
It's
guy
like
looks
I
like
rubbed the rock in the
carcass.
water.
Wait. Living in the eye of the dragon or dragon carcass. Okay,
Nah,
man.
this dude's got to be a hoot at the family Thanksgiving.
Oh, please don't watch it in Discord because I can hear my voice.
You can hear your voice.
Yeah, because you're streaming your Discord.
Oh yeah. Let me.
Oh, that's only a 2-minute one. Hold on, let me get the real one.
That's why you got to mute his stream and then turn on Discord sound.
Dude, wait. This guy has 100,000 fucking subs.
Oh my god, he does.
Yes, sir.
You know
So-
what? At this point, I'm not surprised. I'm not even surprised.
What?
I'm not
So-
surprised.
So is this
Dude,
because, like,
how?
a dragon? Yeah, well, I mean, think about the amount of like followers that Q and stuff has, right? Like, come on, think of the number of people who are like flat earthers and stuff. There's loads of them. There's loads of
I
millions.
think about how many people subscribe to Hassan Piker. Like that in and of itself's got to be astronomically high.
But at least Hassan Piker isn't like contrary to scientific evidence.
Oh no, he sometimes is. He just he's
Wait,
not much
wait.
possible, but
What
you-
is
do
this
you believe
guy?
in
Is he
Hassan
just
Piker?
looking at terrain?
He's looking at the rocks and he's like, "Look, it's a dragon. It
That
looks
would
like a
be
dragon."
How would that organically be possible to have a dragon at that fucking magnitude?
God,
That's a massive fucking dragon.
he believes in these intercelestial titans.
you know what? I love Shark Week, but one of the best evidence against the megalodon being alive today is the fact that what the fuck would it eat? It would need to eat like something so large and need to consume like so much of it that like we would see evidence of it.
Yeah, where are the bones?
What's the evidence of this thing existing? Like what is
The,
this?
the rocks have shape.
Its fucking rib bone would be like the size of fucking that fucking tower in Dubai.
The funny part, it's funny because he points at everything in his videos with like a feather. It's like the weirdest object to point
I
at.
didn't
things
even
with.
notice.
It's a feather.
dragon.
Is that really a feather? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a feather. He doesn't even like. He doesn't take his finger. He wants to point with a feather. He's like, dude, it's a touchscreen. What the fuck? It's a touchscreen. Look at that shit.
Wait, dude, that would just be its tail. Holy shit! So this thing is like. How?
No. This is its head.
Wait, this is its head?
Yeah.
Even if that's its fucking head, dude. This thing is fucking. Is he about to say this is the eye?
No.
Dude, that thing would have its like own fucking.
But wait, you see where?
Dude, that would have its own like gravitational fucking influence, dude.
You see where like the dark rocks dip down, and it makes like a shape of like a.
Like that's its mouth. Is he saying that's its mouth?
No. Like it's you see below there's like a shape below like the darker rock. That's supposed to be a fish, and like the darker rock wrapped around the fish is like its mouth biting into the fish.
Wait, where? What?
All right.
Oh wait, he'll show you. Just play the video.
All right. Here's the take. All right.
Oh wait,
He was in the second grade science class, and they're going over tectonic plates, and he missed that day of school, and no one ever taught him what tectonic plates were again. So now
They are.
all this shit's like dinosaurs and shit, and no one ever taught him what it was.
Oh, I see it.
I don't see it. I don't
Dude,
see
well, okay, no, this is its head. This is its head right here. Wait, hold on.
No.
Wait, what? No. Wait, I
No.
thought. Wait, what? Right, that's the head. That's its neck. That's the body. That's the tail. There are the legs. I mean, that could be its dick,
I'm
dude.
gonna
This thing
screen-
could have like a fucking massive fucking dick, dude.
Really quickly, I'm gonna screenshot it, or I'm gonna screen share like Google Earth here, okay? Because I think it's necessary that you understand this concept.
Oh, is
But
it
so
necessary
basically-
that we understand that?
So basically, the anti-Atlas mountains are a dragon, essentially. That is what we're.
What?
Okay.
Well, no,
So like,
I don't
I
know.
don't
It's
know how
like
to
the
get
whole
rid of these
mountain
borders,
range.
but
Okay, so mountain range.
this is its tail,
I'm not.
legs.
Wait. Where's
Wing?
your? I can't see your cursor. I can't see your cursor.
You can see my. Okay. Well, hold on. Wait. I'll do like here.
Why is it just black? For
Wait,
me?
now I can see it. Wait.
Oh, hold on. Wait. Look here. Can you see?
Okay.
Okay. So, hold on. Wait. So this is its face. Okay. Its like mouth is like curved open and it's biting into
Oh,
this.
I see it.
This is a fish actually. You see, it's like a tuna. You see, like this is its body.
You know what? This guy's gonna freak out when he discovers what Italy is.
And this is its neck. Yeah, that's it when he finds out what it leaves.
Wait.
There's
Go
the
back. Go
legs.
back. Wait. Go back. Wait. Go
For
back
some
to the
reason,
head.
I'm not
Go
seeing
to the
this.
head. Okay, that's the head. Wait, now zoom out. Okay, wait. Which way is it opening up its mouth? Is that its tongue?
It's opening its mouth out this way.
That's its tongue.
To like face this fish it was biting. It was biting this fish.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so trace out the head.
Okay, so it's
Okay,
like
now I see.
it like goes like that to like that.
Oh yeah.
And this is it's like mouth is like super elongated across like the entirety. Like this is all it's like super reached out mouth. He's like trying to take a bite of this fish. You know? And then here's the interesting thing in his theory. Because if you look down here, you can actually see Atlantis.
Atlantis?
Like he points at this, he's like, "Look, it's Atlantis."
Wait, well, okay, wait, hold on.
Like,
Again.
what's
Look
why?
at that.
Like, there's a crater and that's supposed to be Atlantis.
I'll tell you why, because he's a fucking he's special. Alright, he's just very special.
I mean, the thing, like, I know you think that my thing is crazy with the Gorth, but like, again, this is crazy. This is crazy because it, like, we've got geological science to explain how that kind of stuff works. So, like, there's no need to resort to like other stuff for that. Like, literally, that is absurd. That is absurd. See, there's no need. There's no weird stuff going on like with the dreams and stuff where science doesn't explain things.
How fucking big are fish, dude?
Big fish. Big ocean.
Dude, that fish would be the size of like fucking Rhode Island.
We Are Living in the Eye of the Dragon does a better one. It's a better example of his like mud fossil theory in action. This one's a bit of a weaker example. If you don't have a strong basis of like his like theorizing, it's hard to grasp. But if you look at the other examples, I think you'll grasp this concept better.
Well, okay.
But how that even work? Because the fish is like too big to even fit inside an ocean. The dragon.
Wait. Let's see this.
It's the eye of the gator.
On Earth. Well, there might be. Now, you probably recall I did a video on this the other day. Tyson tipped me off to this dragon, which is literally China. And I'm telling you, that is a dragon. Now, we looked at it carefully and looked at the dragon flails coming down here, and his all the way down to Hanoi is where his beard goes. And this is the dragon's eye. Okay? And these are horns going up off the back. That's the eye over here. That's the eye over here. That's the crevice
What the
between
fuck?
the
I mean,
eyes.
I can see it. I can see what?
Membrane. And there it is right there. That is the nictitating membrane.
What the fuck?
These
It's rocks. It's fucking mountains. Not a fucking
Alright.
number.
It's like
Alright.
like seeing the fucking
Living in the eye of
clouds.
the dragon.
Which is
I
the
do have a
height.
take though. I think this guy's gonna freak out when he knows what astronomy is. Like he's gonna look up at the stars and be like, "There's a dragon up there! I see them everywhere. They're coming for us."
Imagine
Look at the
looking at
wheelbarrow.
Nebula, dude. Like he's gonna be like, what the fuck, dude?
There's so many dragons here. Oh
Like-
god. No, I feel really bad for this guy. This guy's clearly mentally ill.
Now
There's
look
no
at the
way to explain it.
dwarf. He talks about how his wife thinks he's crazy in some of his videos. He's like, now my wife, I try to explain this to her. She's like, you're crazy with these theories. What's his name?
Oh.
Frank.
Over or under, his wife drinks 3 glasses of wine a day.
Look,
It's gotta be over.
Look, Karen, it's basically China.
I can't believe I fucked you once. Oh, that's awful. This guy is depressing.
It's so in depth.
Dude, he's just the master troll. He's just trolling
No.
everybody right now.
No.
He has a study. He has a study where he sent a rock to a lab,
Be back in a second, guys.
and he says the study showed that there was DNA inside of the rock.
Oh, so
man, it's
so
gotta be
that's
like someone who's
so
like,
that
"Oh,
means that
this-
must be a dragon.
I tried to call the study, like the people who did the study for him, and they didn't pick up.
Oh,
You know
really?
what's-
You
You know
did?
what's really sad? Is that like the people are gonna get this rock and they'll be like, "Oh, some 8-year-old sent us a rock." He's just trying to learn, geology, and he doesn't quite understand. And they're gonna be like, "Oh, is it actually a 64-year-old man who's trying to like prove his crazy theory?" And they're gonna be like, "Oh no, that's really sad." And then they're gonna laugh and throw that rock away.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Kind of sad. I'm not gonna
Oh,
lie.
it's like it's kind of sad, but like it's also it's actually I think it's so cool the way he built this theory. I just think it's so cool that he sits he's like he has something to do every day. He has purpose in his life, which is to put rocks in plastic cups with water, pull them out, and when the water is a little murky, say that the rock had blood on it.
Yeah, but like you can have purpose of someone to do every day. Like a drug addict has like purpose every day. It's to get fucking high. Like this guy has purpose, but like the purpose is
Yeah, fucking
To
To look at
ISIS
weird
warriors.
rock structures and compare them to the human
you
body.
know what?
The
Actually, it's better
Taliban
than
have purpose.
the Taliban. No, we're not. You want to go back to Afghanistan? We can do that. But
Yeah.
Let's
I don't know,
fucking
so
go,
you get
bro.
derailed again.
I don't know. I would maybe like to, if you don't mind, just again because I'm a very egocentric person, so just like discussing the few things that make me pretty much a pariah among most leftist streams on Twitch. I mean, it's been pretty harrowing. It's pretty unpleasant. It's just you get basically insulted and banned pretty much immediately from pretty much all streams. Like leftist ones, the right wing ones, of course I do because I hate right wingers. I hate right wing ideology more. So I don't know. I just feel so silly because like literally pretty much all my ideas are things that leftists should agree with, and somehow they still hate me, and it just for such ridiculous, stupid little things, and like somehow they just can't let go of that, and like it really unfortunately gives credence to this, what the right wingers say about how leftists have gone too far, they've gone nuts, and they're overly sensitive and overly crazy, and they hate everyone. And unfortunately, well, the right wingers are even more crazy, but nonetheless, they're kind of right about that. There is something very weird and crazy about like many sort of leftists. Um, I don't know if you want to maybe discuss that. Do you think there is a widespread sort of tendency for leftists to go too far?
Here's the thing. All right.
Mm.
And I'm not going to put in regards of like leftist, rightist, whatever political ideology you're on, there's some sort of like con to it. There's some sort of like negative to it where people will believe something that's maybe too extreme, or people maybe won't believe in something that is like in reality and based in like truth, but they
Mhm.
like reject it completely because for one reason or another. Um, I mean, yeah, there's some truth to that. There's also some truth to like, people who are like hardcore Trumpers being like, nah, Trump's the best, he's the greatest, and nothing bad ever happened under there too, right? So it's like there's like equal lines of delusion. It's not really like one side is more delusional than well, there could be
I
arguments for it, but it's not really
Yeah.
like one side is more delusional than the other necessarily. Like on its face, it's a value.
See, I don't
It's
necessarily agree.
I think the online world also has way more extremes than in real life.
Mhm.
These
Quite
people are
likely, yeah.
fucking insane,
Mhm.
and they need to not be involved in the political process at all because the amount of stuff I hear every day that is just too far is like astronomical. Every day I hear something that's just stupid.
The thing with leftists in particular is that there's so much potential progressivism that could take place, and so many leftist theories that just haven't been tried yet, that it's so easy to get like removed from reality and just explore like theoretical grounds, and then like you can get really detached that way. I'm speaking from personal experience.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Right wingers, I feel like they have like a little bit of a different detachment. I don't really I don't have as much experience in that field of being like a detached right winger, but they have like different forms.
Yeah, I mean, there are different. I mean, they're not just mirror images. I mean, they sort of have their own sort of particularities, of course, of course. Um, but like, yeah, there is a tendency to be too detached. But I like what was particularly like apparent to me, especially today, but just in general with my experience here with interacting with people on Twitch, is to the extent that they have these litmus tests on over very trivial matters. And if you fail to pass these litmus tests, you become a pariah. You become ostracized. You become demonized for very little. And I find that again, it's somewhat troubling. I would say, especially from for someone like me who literally agrees with them on the vast majority of things, and yet somehow they like literally they're people that just say I'm horrible, I'm a monster, and that like I should be banned from Twitch and I should go to prison and should be killed, and I'm like, why? And so I could list you, for example, the list of stuff that makes me disliked. I don't know if that's if you want to talk about that or not, but I'd
I
be
would love to hear that. Yeah.
Okay, and if maybe you can also tell me, I would be interested in hearing what you think about my positions on these issues versus their positions. So okay, let's go for this. So I am considered like a mix of a racist and like white supremacist, pedophile, sexist, whatever, sort of those things. So why? Why? Okay, and it's really absurd. So okay, let's start with the stuff that might be the most sort of worrying in terms of TOS stuff, so we get it over with. I'm not going to say stuff that could put you in danger here, but more like potentially, in general, it's sort of like stuff that could get me in trouble. Um, so TOS stuff, the pedo stuff. What is the pedo stuff? So I have said that it would actually make sense to bring down the age of majority, right? The age that you become a legal adult. I think that the current limit of 18 is not the most rational because I think that teenagers, by and large, are already smart enough to actually make decisions for themselves and just live as adults independently. Especially since I want to also provide a UBI, so there wouldn't be that worry of being out on the street. You could just always just live off of your UBI and have a place of your own without having to work. So it's in that conception that already that I'm thinking of it. And so, of course, adulthood includes everything. So it would include voting, it would include being able to drive, being able to purchase a place of your own, and to have sex. And because as a result, I'm suggesting lowering the age of consent for sex. That makes me a pedo. I've suggested that the threshold for adulthood to be 14 for the simple reason, and that's just based on one simple reason, is that 14 is the age that people become roughly adult size, female adult size. So girls are more or less at adult height, and boys are at the height of an adult female, and which means that that makes you the right size for driving a car. You see, and so because cars are more or less designed for adult sized people, and so if we're going to have the cutoff is going to be arbitrary. Of course, the exact cutoff is going to be arbitrary, but I feel that uh, we've got this idea of the adult size, plus the fact that just based on my own personal experience of growing up and being a teenager and seeing my peers grow up, I feel that more or less corresponds to when we've actually acquired the kind of adult-ish maturity. I don't think it came at 18. I think at 14 we're already, in many ways, largely adult enough. I think adult enough to be allowed to be, given the advantages of adulthood. So I get called a pedo for that, and I'm demonized
Wait,
for
what?
that. You see?
I don't know, Archer. I don't know what to do here. It feels weird. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah. I can talk about this a little bit, or like what you're saying.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So yeah, I feel like there are some things that I think we could allow 14-year-olds to do that we don't at the moment.
Mhm.
I feel like allowing them to become like adults is a little risky. Like it just kind of like, okay, so here's my opinion on like the whole consent thing. I feel like when you talk about like lowering age of consent, you're like getting into a lot of problems there. There are problems with allowing 14-year-olds to consent to sex with much like older people. My preferred, if we even were for to do like lowering the adult age, I would prefer consent brackets. So like age brackets, right? So like what we have right now, where technically two underage people having sex within a certain age bracket isn't statutory rape, because it's like another charge, but like it's not considered statutory rape because they're within a certain age. So maybe not a 14-year-old is like biologically capable to consent and be on the same intellectual playing field as a 21-year-old, but maybe like a 15-year-old, yeah, something like that. I don't know. Like I don't think they should be able to consent to having sex or like doing drugs at that age, but like that would be like the best case scenario, is like brackets. I mean, I don't think that they should also be able to consent to doing drugs at that age, not because I don't think they're able to. I think that a lot of 14-year-olds, and this does not go by for any means all 14-year-olds, but some 14-year-olds are able at an intellectual level to make those sort of consensual decisions. However, the repercussions of them being wrong or uh, falsely assessing damages as to like substance abuse or things can have very long-term consequences. Like the consequences of a 14-year-old person abusing weed or becoming a chronic marijuana abuser at a young age is like astronomically damaging to their cognitive ability over time. Lowering adult age for like driving, I'm fine with that. As long as we can teach them properly, I mean, that's fine. We have 15-year-old driving permits where I live. They seem to be doing fine as long as we teach them properly, which my state isn't doing. But if we did,
How
seems
much
like,
would you lower it to? Like,
Well, I've
do you
suggested
want a 13-year-old to drive?
no, I've suggested 14, and then you just have all the stuff that comes with adulthood at 14. So just
Oh,
no
hell
restriction.
no. That's way too young.
Well,
I wouldn't want a 14-year-old voting. Fuck that. Like
Well-
when you're 14, you don't have you just don't know enough to
honestly,
like understand. Like you're not paying taxes. You ain't paying taxes when you're fucking 14. Yeah, like I guess you could pick out like one kid who's like forced into that position, or a couple kids who are. In that case, they have that. But like those kids aren't the rule. They're the exception. Okay, like, dude, I like you just don't know enough. I don't think you know enough about life, and you don't know enough about life, and you don't have an invested interest in society.
look at all the look at all the fucking old adult people that support like Q conspiracy theories and stuff. They've had plenty of experience, and yet they've like made nothing good out of it. So
Well, no. That's not necessarily an argument against like old people voting, though. Like what he's saying is that like
Well-
you could.
there
I
are
don't know.
more. Hold on, wait. Can I steal man you really quickly, because I can feel you're struggling a little bit. I think the argument for like having a voter age at like a later age is there are going to be less irrational people.
But I don't really
Yeah.
agree. Like if I look at the voting results, I mean, you'll see that there's much more. The older the age bracket, the generational bracket, the more people will vote into sort of for really like stupid, chuddy, sort of oppressive, sort of illiberal stuff.
I mean, but that's not because they're getting older. That's because they're from a different age. Like they're from a different time where those things were like
mostly.
I got a hard one.
Mostly.
It's not even
At
about it.
least,
It's not
yeah.
even about age. What
go
happens if you have like an ethnicity of people that vote along the same lines that you disagree with or you think are irrational? Do you just not allow that ethnicity of people to vote?
Well, I mean, my
Hmm.
point is that like we allow people
Do
who
you?
make no yes you do. I mean I would. I would, of course I would. But I guess my point is that tons of adults, despite having tons of experience and knowledge, vote for really shitty things. So ultimately, like, who cares if we let a few teens also vote for shitty things? I mean, it's not going to change much. You're just going to have loads of people voting for
Yeah,
shitty
well,
stuff.
no, yeah, it can. That can change a lot. That's gonna become like a new contingency. Like you know, like political organizations, you have to build a political coalition. And guess what? Like if you're younger, they're gonna be fucking prime fucking picking for fucking politicians. They're gonna be fucking because they're fucking when you're 14, dude. I knew some kids that at 14 were still believing in Santa Claus. All right, or just other shit. Like, dude, these fucking politicians, they're gonna pull the fucking wool straight over their fucking eyes. Like,
Okay. Well, again, I would say
The
suggest
real
to teach kids about politics at school and sort of like make them a bit
no, that
savvy about this stuff.
no. School doesn't help that shit. Most people get their political opinions from their parents. This is like proven time and time again. Like
But
that's
maybe
how
if
most people get their
because
political opinions. Actually,
schools don't cover that stuff all that much. If people actually if schools
that
covered that
sounds
stuff
like a dark
more,
road.
yeah
So
I know.
you want there to be like a Republican and Democrat class? Like what? Like no, this is like a really bad road to go down. You don't.
I want
So you
there to
want to
be
teach about like
a
you want to teach
Nathan
about like
L.
political.
Ist class.
No. What? No. The argument
you're
is
gonna take
good.
it class on the Gorth.
You, oh yeah, absolutely.
Gore theology.
Listen, you can absolutely have classes about like political science and stuff, but like to have a class on like I'm going to teach you what good politics is, that changes all the time, and that's really just like kind of subjective. Like that depends on like what area and what decade you're in, because you may live in a time now where like one thing is like universally good, and then the next like 10 years it's not at all, and then you're the guy who's the chud, or you're the guy who's the old person who's like this guy shouldn't vote, fuck this guy. I think 18's fine. I don't think we need to lower the age. I don't think we need to fuck with that, but I also don't think we need to fuck with like old people either and like be like nah, you
Yeah,
can't vote
sure,
because you
sure.
vote for the wrong things.
Yeah,
So I
sure.
just I don't understand like the hold on, I don't want to like interrupt you, but I want to get this out really quickly. Is I don't really understand what the rush is to like let 14-year-olds
No,
vote.
there's no
Like
rush.
I don't think they
It's
okay.
fucking you can manipulate a fucking 14-year-old. Like if I was a fucking politician, I'd be fucking swearing up and down to get fucking kids to vote. Cause I'd be fucking grooming
Subsidizing candy shops.
yeah, I mean like fucking just placate to the fucking kids. Cause
Hey
they'll be a
kid,
Yeah.
valuable part of the fucking political coalition.
you want to
Like
smoke at 14? Vote for me.
Well,
your
another thing,
Yeah,
of
I
parents,
course,
mean if they have
I
a,
mean,
if they have
your parents are dumb, dude. You should be able to drink alcohol. Come
to be
on, dude.
I don't
fair,
want
Pardon
this to be
me.
a dog pile. I'm gonna stop talking.
well, just to be fair, I want to add that I actually advocate against elections. Doesn't mean I advocate against democracy. What I'm advocating for instead is having sortition, where people are just randomly chosen, and just like a sort of like having a random sample, like when you do a poll, or like for jury duty, and that's called sortition. And you do that
Wait,
instead of
to
elections
make
for the political
laws?
system. For the
I
political system, you
No,
have
no,
representatives.
no. What if you got
I
like?
I'm
Wait.
sorry. I'm
What if
sorry.
you got
That
like
sounds.
fucking? Wait,
I'm
Ted Bundy.
sorry.
You got
I'm
like a
sorry.
Ted Bundy guy or
All
fucking
right.
what's his name?
All right, I have an imaginary line, and I see you stepping over it, stomping it, setting on fire, and stabbing it. This is like, no. Like, what? No, this is absolutely insane. I'm sorry, this is insane. Like, you
It's
can't do that. You can't just have randomly selected people
you
Can
and
he
be like,
can.
explain?
this is democracy. Like,
Can
what
he
the fuck?
explain?
Well, like it's
Can he explain?
okay. Well, thanks for for interjecting.
Wait, could people
But
in prison? Could people in prison under that random selection? Could they be fucking picked?
no, but people who are finished their prison sentence could.
Okay, so someone
I just
like
want to
O.J.
hear how this would
Simpson.
work.
So someone like O.J. Simpson, he could be randomly selected.
Yeah,
And he's one
I
of
mean,
10.
yeah. Like
How
anybody
many
who's
people?
out of prison, anybody who's out of
Well,
prison.
what's the point of democracy at that point? That person doesn't like
No,
if
no,
you're
no.
randomly
This is
if you're
again, no.
randomly
It is a
selecting
democracy.
people.
No, because it's not okay. So
Not
this
a
is the important thing to understand. How this only works if you have a significantly large enough sample. So you're not randomly choosing one person for one position. It only works for selecting houses. So it works for selecting like a House of Representatives, right? Because then you have just a sort of average sample of the
Yeah,
population,
but the
which is going to
the
represent
stats
more or
the
less your
stats
population.
no, it's not because the stats can
Yes.
inaccurately represent certain aspects of the society. That goes to random choice. Like,
No.
what if like you could have if
That's the
it's all
principle of a
random,
poll.
then like you could have a majority of white supremacists.
No, it'd be very unlikely.
Be it's unlikely, but it's
Extremely
absolutely
unlikely.
possible
It's
from happening. And
it's
there's tons of
possible,
other
but extremely unlikely.
examples or scenarios that can happen.
Wait,
Yeah, I know.
Can I just read the definition of democracy? A system of government by the whole population or all the eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives. Like you're not representing the whole population.
You
if
are.
just randomly pick.
Hold on,
Just
wait.
like
Can
a
I just say
poll.
something? This
You're
is really,
not.
this is really cringe. Where
Not
like
just like
Archer
a
speaks
poll.
and then Nam talks, and then Nathaniel has to respond to both of them in the same breath.
No, it's
It
okay.
is.
Like,
I
don't.
feel like I feel like it should go like Archer, then Nathaniel, then Nampro, then Nathaniel.
No, that's cringe. No,
It's
there's no.
What?
This isn't a debate panel. I don't
What?
want
No, but
any,
it's not. It's not
any
a matter of like debate. It's
anyone.
like a matter of dogpile, bro.
I don't
It's
mind.
we're
I don't
having a
mind.
conversation. We're
It's
we're
okay.
having a conversation.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for standing up
This
for me.
isn't a debate. I don't want to
But
have
it's
any. I
okay.
don't want to have no.
Okay,
There's
but
no
like when we're
rules.
trying to when
There's no
we're
rules.
trying to portray like ideas in the most effective way
Hey,
possible.
this is
I
the
think that it's more
Coliseum. This
beneficial.
is the Coliseum. This is the Coliseum.
Where
Okay.
tigers fight to the
At
death.
times, at times, you know, if you get to, it's happened to me. It's happened to you, Trussell. It's happened to fucking. I don't think it's happened to Nampro yet. It's happened to Nate. All right,
Well,
this
my
is
Afghanistan
this is just how it fucking has
The
to go. Because
grilling.
once we start integrating fucking rules into into this shit or fucking decorum, all right. I want to keep the rules very simple, and very like fucking straightforward.
I'm cool with Nathan explaining what this process looks like because the initial, like on its face, it doesn't give me high hopes.
Okay,
explain
well,
what it is.
so firstly, well, I'd recommend you to look up the term sortition. You know, that way you can, if I don't explain it well, you'll find plenty of other sources that will explain it much better. There are plenty of political scholars that are very much that support this notion. So it's not just me. It's not just my crazy idea. You know, like there are
Which
plenty.
ones?
So the sortition I'm talking about here. So the randomly selecting the people. So the idea is
Yeah,
just
who's
like
for that?
no, like not famous people. It's like scholars, you know, people that we haven't heard of, but that are like experts in the field.
Yeah,
But like
what scholars?
political science scholars.
What political science scholars?
I don't know, just political science.
Wait, if you don't know who they are, then how?
No, I mean, I
Wait,
don't
then where are you
remember.
getting that example?
No, I mean, I remember
Do you have a
seeing this.
link? Do you have a link?
Okay,
Do you have a link or something? You can.
okay. So what I can link you to is sortition. One article I liked was the pros. Oh wait, sorry. One article I can try to get you. I haven't kept it. Pros and cons of sortition. I think that was a pretty good article, which showed sort of the pitfalls. I don't remember his name. It was here equalitybylaw.com. So this is a pretty good site where they like you got some pretty smart guys, some scholars here who discuss this. Um, and I'm sorry, I don't. Keith Sutherland. Look up Keith Sutherland for okay that and you can find tons of other stuff that I haven't looked at yet. If sorry, it's just it's my thing is really slow. I've copied the link, but it's just loading. Okay, I'll try.
Wait, is it this actor? Is this his actor?
No,
Producer?
No, not
I
Kiefer,
doubt
not
it's the
Kiefer, not Kiefer Sutherland. Keith
Oh.
L. Sutherland. Yeah, for some reason your stream is not loading for me. I'm sorry. It's being like my internet's just really crappy. I'm sorry. Just look at sortition. Look at equalitybylaw.com. Look at Keith L. Sutherland. Those are examples. There's tons of other stuff they could find elsewhere. So like, that's just a limited sort of array of what you can look at.
Principles of
Um,
flotation.
Sortition, Sortition.
Wait, wait.
I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page, honestly. That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, that's already a good thing. That's a good start. That's actually probably the best to start.
It has quite a bit of information here. So.
Wait,
Yeah.
where's the Wikipedia?
Just Google sortition Wikipedia, it'll come up. I can link it actually. Do you want me to link it in your Discord? I just link it for-
Yeah, that's
there you go.
probably the best. That's probably the best.
Yeah.
So the
Link it in
idea
YouTube.
is it's the same principle as a poll, is that it's very, very unlikely that the poll will be significantly different from the true opinion of the population. Like, if half the population supports a measure and half of the population opposes it, it's extremely unlikely that you just have the misfortune of only contacting the people who oppose it, and so it looks like 100% of people are against it when actually it's only 50%, right? You see sort of what I mean? Like, the bigger a sample, the more likely it is that you have a representative sample. And based on that, it's extremely unlikely to, if you use sortition to elect a house with a fair amount of people, it's extremely unlikely to end up with a highly non-representative sample. It's extremely unlikely to end up with a sample that consists solely of like white supremacists or something. Although,
Okay, but
yeah.
I also I'd rather have a republic than a democracy. And in this republic that we have, there are barriers that exist in order to prevent people who are incapable of running of running for leadership from putting them into power. In a system like this, I would assume are we to assume that the president is randomly chosen?
No, precisely. Sortition, as I said, sortition only works when you're choosing a house, right? If you're choosing like a house of representatives, right? You're choosing a group of people. You can do it for a jury.
Why wouldn't
You see,
why
not
wouldn't we
one
do it
person.
with the president?
Because one person, then you could just end up, you'd be much, much more likely to end up with a random stupid person. See, the thing is that the greater the number of people within your sample, the more it's going to become representative. I mean, it's just
So
like a scientific study. You see?
we're just gonna leave up the body in which makes our laws up to random choice.
Yeah, but it's good. Then it's going to be more or less corresponding to the population, right? Just like a poll. You
The
typically
population's fucking stupid. Okay, the
okay, but
population
then
of the United States is already fucking stupid.
okay, but then let's just have a go back to monarchy as the
Like
population.
half of us, like more than half of this fucking country believes in God. Like
Yeah.
or
So
or just other stupid shit. Like
okay,
Statistically, half of the country believes in the Gwrth.
sadly,
That's
I wish, but yeah, but yeah, of course. But then who gets to rule? If we don't let the population, then who? Like, how do you?
I would
How
rather
do you?
have the wisest amongst us
Yeah,
fucking
but how do you?
institute the aristocracy.
Yeah, but yeah,
I wouldn't say that.
that is your other option essentially, right? So what I'm suggesting instead is you have democracy, proper like real like democracy
That's
with
not
a system.
democracy.
It is democracy.
That's not
I
real
think
democracy because
it is.
the people aren't voting.
It does. Yes, they are voting. They're voting on
You're
issue.
leaving up to a
They're
random chance.
voting. No, they're voting. They will vote on legislation. They'll vote on bills through direct democracy, through like initiatives and referendums, like in Switzerland, like in California. They would do that. So you'd have
So we
that
should
vote.
vote on
Direct
every
democracy.
single issue.
No,
I really hate direct democracy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really hate it so much.
I
don't think
love it.
it's the best.
I think it's great.
necessarily.
I like literally it makes me much more interested in the political process. I'm both Swiss and Californian,
to you.
and I get to vote on those things that interest me much more than voting for candidates. I literally just don't give a shit about the candidates. What I like is voting on the bills. Like the bills is so much more interesting to me. Voting on an actual thing,
Alright.
not an actual policy.
I'm gonna give you a state that does this all the time. All right, Archer can attest to this. The state of California loves doing these things where it has props and stuff like that, and you get a whole bunch of your friends to vote for something that may be beneficial to you and all your friends, but it's not beneficial to the state as a whole, right? And then like you get some of these weird laws in place, and then you have like issues of like zoning in your city, and like all these other fucking problems when you could have just had an elected representative who understands these issues at a core, who probably understands the disadvantages, who has a a cabinet or like a chief of staff in order to like advise him on this, or he has experts that he points to, versus just like, hey, would you like a building that's 8 stories tall and is right next door to your favorite coffee shop? And then what people do is they go, no, fuck that shit. I don't want that shit. But you know what?
Yeah,
You need that shit. Sometimes you need shit that people don't fucking want.
yeah, but
It's like dude, like okay, fucking 2 years ago. Okay, people fucking voted to raise the tolling prices on the fucking bridges here in the Bay Area because they fucking put out. They're like, oh, we need to increase revenue in order to keep the lights on. And guess what? Every motherfucker reads that and they're like, oh, and it's people who don't even use the bridge. Okay, mind you, people who don't even fucking use the bridge voted on that particular issue to raise tolling prices because you know what, they put it in a way that sounds nice, but when you look at it, like it's like we get fucking taxed out of the ass for fucking gas tax that's supposed to go to these specific things, and yet like they're now selling you another fucking proposition that's supposedly going to go to paying towards certain things that never end up fucking materializing.
yeah, I mean, okay, but I don't really consider that an indictment of the concept per se. I mean, I think, if people end up voting selfishly, then you're still whatever ends up being voted is still going to be beneficial for the majority of the population, right? Normally, at least of the voting
I
If the
population.
no
majority if the
no.
majority of the population wants a white majority, is that good just because it's like the what the majority thinks?
Well, lots of my followers that I've now banned from my chat would say yes. Okay, but no. um, so
But I thought it
yeah,
was a majority position.
yeah, no, but so what do we do there? Well, what I say is we do actually have a bit of that, wise aristocracy, but not in the form of an actual person, but rather in the form of a constitution that is written by a bunch of wise people, or preferably just written by me, and then people just have to follow those basic rules, and that is kind of the undemocratic wise philosopher king that's just imposing the basic fundamental rules, and then people
Oh,
can
no, no,
have.
an aristocracy would be like it's not like one person is running things. It's a council. It's a council
Yeah,
of people who are doing this, and it's say you're setting up society in such a way that you weed out, like you find the wisest people of society who are not only wise, but these people are also in it for the right intentions.
yeah, but I think that's really hard to do, and meanwhile I know that I'm probably the wisest person ever, and so therefore it makes sense to just have a constitution
That's how,
based
What
on
are you
me.
being?
how do
Are
you
you
think like
wait?
this? How do you
Wait, are you being ironic or are you being unironic?
No, I'm unironic. I know that people think I'm crazy for that too, but like, yeah, I'm
You
not
think you're the
ironic.
wisest person?
Yes, I do. I do.
wait, no. Do we want to go back to your Afghanistan take earlier? Because I could tell you why that's
Wait,
a biased
wait, hold
representation
on,
for
hold
reason.
on,
No, no,
hold on, hold
this is
on. Wait. Are you wait? Damn, are you gonna address the thing that you just said?
yeah, no, I don't think he's wise on every single issue. And I don't think he has like the correct answer
Wait, do
for
you
every
think
single
you're the
thing.
wisest person who has ever existed?
Not in the universe, but on this planet. Yes.
Do you think you're wiser than Socrates and
Yes.
Plato?
Yes. Definitely.
Why?
Definitely. They don't have as good policies as me. They never came up with the Gorth. They never came up with UBI. They never came up with my system of like global
You didn't
government
come
But
up
you
with
with
didn't come up.
UBI.
combined
You,
sortition
you
You didn't
and
didn't
come up
come
with
up with
UBI.
any of this stuff.
Did you
okay,
come
I
up
did.
with 14-year-old consent laws?
Uh, I mean, I did on my. I mean,
Matt
other people
Gates
came
did.
up with this stuff.
Are
Other
you
people came up with this
wiser?
stuff too.
Are
The
you
point
wiser than Martin Luther King Jr.?
the point is that like maybe if they had as much knowledge as I do now, if you brought Socrates to modern day times, maybe Socrates would be wiser than me. But the point is that wisdom is not just about having a mind that thinks straight, but also about using some basic knowledge that we've collectively acquired. So obviously it's easier to be wiser for as society progresses. So obviously people now are wiser than they are before just because we've
Wait, are
acquired more
you
knowledge.
wait? What's the difference between wisdom and intelligence? Can you
So
tell
yeah,
me the difference between the two?
so for me intelligence is just about sort of rapidity of thought. It's just about computational speed. It's just like you get given a math problem and just how fast are you able to solve it. For me, wisdom is mostly about rationality combined with a bit of knowledge. So it's about essentially it's a bit of knowledge and a lot of rationality. So it's about logically analyzing the sort of important facts of existence. Unfortunately, back in the day, the ancient Greeks didn't have like some basic facts that we now know. They just lacked some very basic facts
What are you
that we.
talking? What are you talking about, dude? The Greeks literally, I forget which philosopher
Mhm.
fucking came up with it. They came up with the idea of the atom
Yeah,
before fucking millennia,
but
like
they didn't.
almost I think it was actually 2 millennia after they came up with they had the idea of it. But the idea was that if you cut something up into an infinite amount of pieces, what would that thing be? And they called that atomos.
Yeah, but they
And
didn't.
they had no idea. They had no idea about cell structures
This
or like.
just this just sounds like idealism, that like because you were born later than people, that makes you like more clever than them.
What makes
But
me.
like if you were born in Socratic times, then by your standard you would be a bumbling idiot.
Well, no. Well, yes and no. So I would be less wise than I am now. I would still be wiser than most people, and likely if I'd had a similar education to
You
Socrates,
don't
Plato.
know. Don't know that.
I think if I'd had a similar education to Socrates and Plato, I likely would be wiser.
Nathan,
But
I like you, but I'm just gonna be front with you when I say this. Okay, I say this because you seem like a nice guy. I'm just gonna tell you what I really think about this. Okay.
go ahead. I know what
All
you.
right.
Yeah.
I think Socrates would run fucking loops around you because
I,
the thing with Socrates is he understood he was ignorant. His he believed that wisdom comes straight out of it, comes out of understanding your own ignorance. And I think what you're doing, right? I think you're being pretty arrogant right now. And I think Socrates would run loops around you because I mean like we've asked you questions tonight that you've insufficiently been able to answer.
well,
You've
I
been
disagree.
you've been very certain on these conclusions. Things like the Gorth. You've provided zero evidence of any of this stuff.
That is
Any of
not
this stuff
zero
actually
evidence. I I provided lots of
what.
evidence. It's not 100%. It's not. It's not the complete smoking gun or something. But it's. I mean, it's pretty. It's pretty. It is evidence. It's just not perfect evidence, right? Um. So I would disagree with that. I'll also disagree that Socrates would run circles around me. I think that Socrates precisely actually lacks a bit of foundational stability. I think fundamentally Socrates is too wobbly. He kind of he
What
doesn't
do you mean?
have
What do we?
Socrates
Yeah,
doesn't.
that's why he's so wise. That's why he's so
No,
wise,
that's
though.
not. No, it's not
Because
wise. It's not
because
wise.
because he's ignorant, and you would understand that you're like he understood that he's ignorant.
No, but the point is that
Once if
it's not just ignorant, is that he's actually complacent about not having any particular ideology. And basically about saying that you can't have a particular, like, genuine set of beliefs. And I think that's mistaken. I believe that there are truths out there. I believe that there are, like,
well,
fundamental
no, because
better ideas than others.
when okay, when I forget who it is went to the fucking
Delphi?
Oracle of Athens
Oh,
and
Delphi.
asked sorry, to Oracle of Delphi, okay, and asked who is the wisest person. The Oracle answers Socrates. Socrates fucking goes and says bullshit, bullshit, and he goes around and he asks all of the people who society perceived to be wise, people who said that they knew a lot of things about the world. These people and these people, he went up and asked these people. He asked them particular types of questioning and argue to argue. And what he pulled out of that is that he realized that not only is he ignorant, he is ignorant, but everyone else around him is fucking ignorant as well. That takes an incredible amount of fucking wisdom at the time to have that sort of self realization. I think we take that for fucking granted today, or granted, not granted. I think we take that idea, like for granted.
Well, so basically, I would just disagree because like again, I mean, of course, I mean, I'm not saying that he didn't have wisdom. Of course, he did have, like, he definitely was wiser than most people. Sure. I mean, I definitely
He
he
was
like.
one of the wisest people who's ever existed. Yeah, I mean, he
I
fundamentally started Western Western thought. Western thought can be
uh,
traced back
yeah.
to Socrates
I mean, in
Socrates slash Plato.
I mean, in large part. I mean, not only, but like definitely he he brought a major contribution. Of course,
It's literally they literally like when you talk about ancient philosophy or like philosophy, ancient philosophy, it literally goes pre-Socratic, post-Socratic.
yeah,
There's a
of course.
reason why we have that distinction because Socrates had such an influence. Plato slash Socrates had such an influence on Western thought that like we've made that distinction because of his ideals
Okay,
and
but
his philosophy.
I'd say that he was the first person to establish a certain method, but like it's easy, he kind of was in a position to pick the low-hanging fruit. It's kind of like the dude who invented the wheel versus the person who now builds a super advanced like sports car.
Then why
Like
didn't no one else build the wheel, or why didn't no one else come up with the things that Socrates did?
But I mean, did you see what I mean? Like the person who actually now builds the super advanced sports car is actually providing with a better product. It's a much more advanced and refined product than the person who invented the wheel, even if the wheel was more revolutionary. So Socrates may have been more revolutionary just because he was the first, because nobody else had done anything, and so like it's easier to be revolutionary when when nobody
But
else has done
I'd
much.
say when you're comparing yourself to like people as wise as this person, or saying you're wiser than them, I'm saying look at the fundamentals of how this person thought. He thought from a very like he'd question he wouldn't lay out a lot of claims. He'd take a lot of claims and he questioned those claims. Like you tonight have just made claims and have not questioned claims and not only you have made, but like yeah, you've not provided that from that framework. If that makes sense.
Well, okay, but the it's true. I haven't shown my whole framework. My point, I would contend that the problem is that you can't just question. You have to have certain beliefs that are actually axiomatic, which means that you just have to accept them. And you, unfortunately, I mean, you can question them, but ultimately you can't logically demonstrate them because, I mean, that's just how it works. You have to have an axiomatic principle that cannot be demonstrated. For me, so mostly for me, that is the principle of well, at least when it comes to ethics, the principle is utilitarianism. The idea that you should maximize well-being and minimize suffering. That is something that you have to accept. That's axiomatic. So I can't provide you with arguments for that. This is especially a problem. Especially right-wingers tend to hate utilitarianism, and they'll say I don't provide any proof for why utilitarianism is the fundamental ethical principle, and it's true. There isn't any way I can demonstrate that because that is the root of all other principles. Um, that is just the how should I say? It's just the way things are. Like it's impossible for things to be otherwise. Um, so
And someone else could
yeah.
take a stab at it if you want to.
I don't know. I don't. So you keep repeating that I am wise, like I am intelligent. You're not saying you're well. I don't think you have the wisest opinion on like the idea you gave about Afghanistan earlier, because I don't think giving UBI in Afghanistan makes sense. We've like dumped so much. Like it's just an unwise opinion if you understand how that country broke out and you understand like the events that happened. What makes you think UBI is the most wise decision in Afghanistan in order to pump their economy up and make them stand above?
Well, again, I can't know for sure. So I mean, the wisdom is about acknowledging your limitations. So like, I'm very clear that I don't know for sure if that's the best policy. It just like what I'm saying instead is that it strikes me as being most likely the best. I can't know for sure. Um, I think I already provided an explanation for that. I could provide an explanation for why, in general, I think UBI is a great policy. Um,
UBI
admittedly,
makes no sense in Afghanistan if you understand how much money we pumped into the local municipality governments, and then
I
most of
believe
those
like 2
governments,
trillion.
yeah, most of those. Hey,
yes.
hey,
Go
hold
ahead.
on. Hey,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
we pumping more money wasn't the problem. The
But it
the
wasn't.
problem
I
was that
wasn't suggesting pumping more money. I was suggesting pumping the
yes,
money
that's what
differently.
UBI is.
No, but using it
Yes, that's
differently.
what UBI is.
Instead, I was suggesting yes, it is, but I was suggesting UBI instead of maybe some of the stuff that was done, because it's true there was corruption. Lots of the money was just siphoned off into the pockets of government officials. I think it would have been much better to, like, instead of giving the money to government people who would use it to some extent in unethical ways and basically be corrupt, give it to the people. I think that would have been better. That would have been literally it cuts out the
Or you're
middleman.
gonna have a guy go out and hand out cash payments in rural Afghanistan in the mountains near where most Pashtuns live, and they cross the border over to Pakistan. That's a good idea.
Oh, I don't understand your last bit, but you'd have a government program that directly gives the cash to people,
Yeah,
and the people
how?
I don't know to what extent these people like have bank accounts and stuff.
Most it's less than 10%.
What? So
I
how
already
much?
know
What?
most. Less than 10% have bank account.
You know this?
You'd have
Have you seen this figure?
yes, yes.
Okay, so that complicates things, admittedly. But yes, just have people go around and distribute cash, and then have other people like ask, "Did you get the cash?" And if not, then you sort of berate the people who didn't give the cash and took the money for themselves instead. I mean, sure, there's
Berating
like,
doesn't work. Berating doesn't work in Afghanistan. It
well,
doesn't. I'm sorry.
you
You have
fire
to
them,
have
you
some
send
sort
them
of
to
action.
prison. You send them to prison. You send them to prison if
Prisons are
that's
going to get
corruption.
released from in a few months if the Taliban take it over.
Yeah, but you still
Prison
at that
also
point,
wasn't very
but
effective
you
for
still,
SOK members.
but yeah, but no, but you still have military presence until the system is sort of gotten going. And so the idea, like, I would still have military presence. I would have foreign military presence. I would have potentially the foreign military handing out the UBI. I would have the U.S. military handing out the UBI until the system has sort of gotten going and people were like, yeah, we're getting this UBI. This is actually pretty dope, right? And once there's enough popular like support for this, then you can sort of phase out that and try to have the local government take over instead, and then finally retreat from Afghanistan. That
Hey,
you would
guys, I hate to cut this up, but I've got to dip out.
oh
You guys can obviously keep talking. You guys don't want to. I just I'm gonna stop. I got to stop streaming.
all right.
Yeah, I'll catch you guys. Thank you guys. Appreciate you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Bye. Yeah. Do you want to keep talk a bit
Yeah,
or?
no, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You can't necessarily have every single NATO member go around and hang out money, right? Like that wouldn't be a very good process at all. And eventually, you're gonna have to get down to where people in Afghanistan have to do this process. And when they do this process, one of the biggest problems that the Taliban did was they ran guns to sell, and they ran
Mhm.
drugs to sell. What are they gonna do when they see someone running with a bag of money around? They're just gonna
Mhm.
kill that guy, take the money, and use that money to buy more guns or do whatever they do
Yeah, but
typically what
don't.
the Taliban does, right? Like this isn't a
I
good
mean,
system. I'm telling you right now, it's a bad system. For
I don't know,
Afghanistan, this is
because
not going to work.
I don't necessarily agree. Because again, I mean, NATO powers were present in Afghanistan for 20 years. So I mean, there this I'm sort of operating within this
This
framework
isn't an
that we.
argument against Afghanistan. I'm pro staying in Afghanistan. This is an argument for the
Yeah,
system you gave.
but
Say
don't
the
you think?
UBI is
I
not
mean,
going to work the way you think it does.
if you are in Afghanistan, why can't you? Why like
You can't just hand out money. That wasn't the problem. The
why
problem
can't you
was
do it?
that it was hard to no, okay, because we've tried to do it over and over again. The problem was we needed to find some sort of sustainable economy for them, some sort of jobs program, some sort of like expedition in order to make them money. We tried doing that with mining. We tried doing that with the Ring Road. The Ring Road was a road we built to go around most of Afghanistan, most of the major cities, in order to have some sort of economic impact and some sort of trading within the country. The Taliban kept
Yeah,
popping out and attacking and destroying the road.
So,
Like we can hardly build roads.
yeah, sorry about that, guys. Like, yeah. I didn't even realize what time it was. Yeah, sorry. I sorry I had to cut that so abruptly. Just want to let you guys
Nah,
know.
you're fine, bro. I don't care, dude. You do you. You gotta get sleep. I should be going to bed soon too.
Well,
Gotta
no,
go.
I'm going out tonight. I'm going out.
Oh,
I'm
you're going
hanging
out
out.
with the
Yeah.
ladies, huh? Oh, all
Oh,
right.
oh
Oh,
shit! Fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Well, no, I'm going over to my friend's house, and hopefully there's
What's her name?
uh, Gorth, Gertha.
that's quite a
Gortha.
name. What if it's just what if it just has the most ugly name, but she's like one of the most banger girls you've ever seen. Like you're just attracted instantly, great personality, and her name's Gorf. What do you do then?
Um, fuck, dude. I fucking Nate. I'm gonna call you up. I'm gonna be like, you were right.
You're right.
Alrighty. Hey, you guys have a good night, guys. All right.
Hey,
too.
go slay it.
See ya.
All right. Lit.
Bye.
Oh shit.
Oh, 2 people left. Okay. Do you want to keep talking, just you and me, or?
I'll probably stay about 5 minutes longer, and then I'm probably gonna get off.
Alright,
To
alright.
kind of end this, like I'm telling you, this isn't like effective policy making for what's going on in Afghanistan. It just
Yeah.
doesn't. It's not going to work. And this isn't, again, going back to the wisdom thing. This is what I wanted to bring around to eventually end it. Is that it's just not the most wise idea to do that with all of the problems that I've like listed before. Like the Taliban are literally an organization that run drugs and
Mhm.
guns. Adding money to that list, they have no problem with, right? Like this isn't like going to be the solve all problem for Afghanistan. And making a policy like this has so many like drawbacks I could see from it easily within the first month. This isn't a
Yeah,
wise like opinion. It's not like a statement against you. I'm just saying like
sure, sure, sure.
this isn't gonna work.
My point, I guess what I would counter is that, like, I see your point and that it could end up, like, failing due to that. I would just consider that we can't really know, and I would still feel like I mean, I'm not entirely convinced by what you're saying. I mean, I'm convinced, but I mean, I'm not convinced that it wouldn't work. That's what I mean. I mean, I understand your argument. I'm
It
just
would work.
saying that you'd have to try it to know for sure. You'd have to try it to know for sure, I think, and
No, no, we shouldn't just like throw darts at dartboards and be like, well, we got to try everything. Like, no, there are things we know that work. There are things we know that don't work, right? Like, you know, it's not gonna work if we try to come in and try to get rid of most of the tribal leaders in the region. Like, people are gonna be very upset about that. It's not gonna work if we go and we raid every single person's house. It's not gonna work if we go and we just start carpet bombing most of the city. Like those aren't effective methods, and I don't need to try those things to know they don't work because they haven't worked in the past when other people have done them. So
okay,
I'm
but
not going to try those
UBI
things.
hasn't been done. See?
No, 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 no. What's going to happen? Eventually, the United States is going to have to teeter off of giving so much support to Afghanistan. What happens when it teeters off and they lose this income that they've newly gained?
Well, like I said, the
Because
UBI
they're going
should
to have to replace it somehow.
yeah, well, like I said, the UBI would actually be funded by within the country Afghan taxes. It wouldn't come from external, powers. It
The
wouldn't be
Afghan government doesn't have enough money to give out a substantial enough to like it's not gonna work. You need some sort of income to come in to the country.
well, you could have better income distribution is my point. You'd increase taxes, especially on rich people.
Not
All the
about
money.
distribution.
So what? Well,
It's
I
not
don't.
about distribution. One of their largest exports is carpets. They have a problem with making money in general. They're one of the least developed countries on the planet.
Yeah,
They can't
I would.
mine copper properly.
Yeah, but I would say that like having, just cash there would enable you to, be able to buy stuff. So that would create demand for like economy of sort of basic sort of living goods, and it would also enable people to more easily invest. So I mean, there are definitely good arguments to boost the
Invest in
economy
what?
through new businesses to then that can then cater to other people who can then buy the stuff.
What are
Like
these businesses gonna do?
again, well, it starts slowly, of course, because sure, the economy has to be sort of built as a whole. I mean, obviously, you need other businesses for your own business to take off. I know it's not easy. And sure, you need like government programs as well. You need like, yeah, sure, if you can like help if there needs to be infrastructure like roads and stuff to be built, absolutely, that kind of stuff. But there is demand, right? People want things the way I would see it actually would be the first thing to start would be just like importation actually, just to raise the standard of living. They could you just have like retailers that would like import goods from overseas and then resell them to Afghan people now that they have more money. Potentially, I could see that as again, not Afghan people overall wouldn't have more money, but the sort of the people at the bottom would have more money. The people at the top would have less. So um, it would be a sort of
I don't I don't think
more
that's how any
redistribution.
developed nation. I don't think that's how any developed nation has moved from an industrial-based economy to a service-based economy. I don't think any country on the planet has like gone through that period where they just like have a large injection of money and then therefore it kind of solves most of their problems economically. They need to have some source of creating funds for themselves that are independent of other nations giving them foreign aid constantly. So the whole point of foreign aid is
Mhm.
there's a two-pronged attack to it. The first prong is that you're benefiting your country by giving foreign aid, and you look like the good guys. The second prong is that you hope this foreign aid creates some sort of economic incentive, and with this economic incentive, some of the bad things in the region that spill over to your country aren't affecting it. So, for example, we give economic aid to like Somalia, so that way their government can fend off some of like the rebels and stuff, so there stop being as many refugees that come and float over because they're being displaced by all the fighting, right? However, like this money doesn't always get distributed evenly, and like you need to have some sort of like sustained economy in
Mhm.
order to fight against this mostly, and injecting money inside of it purely isn't going to work. It's not even a distribution method, right? Because the people you might be distributing to might be the same warlords the government's fighting, so now you're just giving them a vehicle to like buy more guns and more funding and all that stuff. Like it
Yeah.
needs to be a hyper specific like attack for each country, because each country is like different in the way they do things. You can't do coin in the same way like you can do it in like other countries. So coin is counterinsurgency operations. Like that's essentially what it is. It's going out and taking out like insurgents. But you can't do coin the same exact way in Afghanistan that you do in Nigeria. It's just not going to be a very effective method. You kind of need to make like a specific plan for each one. The same thing works for like federal aid. Like you
Mhm.
can't just give federal aid to like Haiti the same way you would give to like Somalia, because there are different problems inside each of those countries.
Mhm.
Like this needs to be a hyper specific plan for each one. It can't just be a one size fits all. It can't just be, well, we have to redistribute it better. No, they need to find a way to make money to sustain themselves, so that way we stop giving them as much foreign aid, because when we give them more foreign aid, more people are going to abuse it. When more people abuse it, because there's no way to make money in the country otherwise, then you run into this like constant cycle and constant problem.
Yeah.
You need to
I
find a way to make them money.
I mean, I agree with that, but I still think, like, my point was that there is income inequality if you have a UBI paid for not through foreign aid, but through just local government taxes, which you do through increasing taxes locally, then there's going to be more income equality, and there's maybe going to be and sort of the average peasant type people are going to be better off, and as a result, they're maybe less likely to support and potentially join the Taliban. That was the reasoning there. That was basically it. It's not about giving it through foreign aid, in fact. Um, uh, I may be wrong about that. And yes, of course, Afghanistan also needs to figure out ways to
There's not
develop
enough money to
economically.
do it through this there's not enough money to do it through this taxation process you're talking about. I know there's not enough.
I would contend that there actually is. I think there always is. There always is. If there's enough money to go around for people to survive, there's money to do the UBI practically. So, um, I mean, not quite, but like almost. So, like, I think you can, because there are some rich people. I mean, we've seen there are some rich people in Afghanistan. Those people could be taxed a lot more.
A lot of those
And
people make their money through foreign aid.
okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I think there still would be
You need
some
to
pretty rich people
you
even
need
without
you
like
need to produce something, whether it's a service or
yeah.
whether it's a good.
I
You
I
need
mean
to
I
produce something.
Of course, but then so how would you
Redistributing it doesn't work.
how yeah, okay. Well, I would contend that it does actually help, but it's not great. I mean, it's not just that's going to get your economy to be super productive. My point is just that it would help a bit. It's not like the entire be all end all. I'm just saying that would I would just expect to see better outcomes if it had been possible to do that. Not saying that would completely solve everything. Um, but how would you go about like creating a proper, how would you go about boosting the economy in Afghanistan then?
Yeah, for sure. So security and support for the Ring Road. This means going in to fight the Taliban again, push them out from any area where they're in the Ring Road, and if that means chasing them into Pakistan, further in Pakistan, getting them away from Waziristan and some of the tribal regions,
Yep.
fuck it, do it. Push them out of the Ring Road. I don't want them around there. They're not going to get around it. That's like economic hurting. Another thing that'll help would be mining. Mining is they have tons of minerals. They have tons of things to sell to other countries if they want, like lithium. Having giant corporations come in, give some of their machinery, and the Afghans give some of their workers is a deal that could work out in the long run. These people are going to be getting paid substantially more because they're probably only getting paid dollars a day, especially in the mountainous regions. This obviously, I'm making it sound simple. It's not simple at all. Because, like I said, we still need to fight a war with the Taliban and push
But
them out and push boundaries in other
also
countries.
Also, I don't feel that it contradicts my thing. I mean, I agree with you on that. I don't see why we can't do both of those things you're saying plus my thing.
No, we can't
I
just
think
start handing out money to everybody in the mountains. That's not
I
gonna
think
work.
I think we can.
Like
Like
we've
I
done that. We've done that.
has that been done? Has that been done?
Yes, we've given it to tribal leaders, and we've said, hey, make sure you give some of like your people some stuff. Make sure you give them a water well. Make sure you give them some infrastructure. They're not going out and handing out the money in general because just handing out money doesn't do anything if that money has
Yeah.
no inherent value,
Well,
right?
no, because it goes to
So we've
tribal
asked,
leaders. Yeah.
yeah,
What I would
no, 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 no,
suggest.
no.
Okay,
But
go
the
ahead.
thing is, we need to build them infrastructure. We we we
Well,
we need to build
sure.
them infrastructure.
Sure.
It's like far more important than
Yes.
the Afghani dollar. The Afghani dollar doesn't mean shit. It doesn't. It doesn't mean a whole bunch,
Yeah,
especially in these
of
areas
course
where
you
they
also need
hardly
that.
use money.
Yes,
There are
of
areas
course.
in Afghanistan where they hardly use cash. This isn't
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
work.
Of course, of course. So yeah, I wasn't. Of course, it's true. I'm thinking already in the sort of terms of a relatively more developed sort of situation. I would suggest that we could use foreign aid to first get the country to be at that kind of level of sort of development where people do mostly use cash. So you build, build more infrastructure, and so then and sort of create set the foundations for an economy that would where people wouldn't be, living in little tribes in the mountains, but instead maybe have policies that would, not forcefully, but just encourage them, like maybe to move to towns, and then they could just no longer depend on a tribal leader and just then get a bank account and then just
Yeah.
have money injected in their bank account. That is sort of,
Yeah, I mean, ideally that's how you want to do it, but these aren't like simple. You have to make short-term goals in order to have
of
your
course,
long-term goals
of course,
achieved.
of course.
You don't have any idea of like what the short-term goals look like. And also, people don't want to move away from these places. The thing is, you have to bring the jobs to them. You have to bring like the economic incentive to them. You
Mhm.
can't just say, "Hey, here's the economic incentive, go get it." People aren't going to do that. And there are people in Afghanistan that literally have no idea what Kabul looks like. They don't
Mhm.
want to move there. There are people who don't want to
Yeah.
move from the area they're in.
Mhm.
So we need to
Sure.
find a way to get them like economic incentive out there. I don't disagree that the economy is going to be most effective at reducing Taliban like rule and surge, but like you don't understand how much Taliban abuses some of these systems,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
just
Fair
going out
enough.
and handing out money is not going to be effective. You're going to have to fight a war again, and that's going to gain a lot of political capital, and then eventually you're going to lose that. When you lose that, if you still want to hand out money, you can, but the Taliban's literally just going to shoot that guy you gave all that money to, or they're going to be like, hey, you have to pay a security fine because the Taliban acts like a fucking gang,
Yeah.
and they're just gonna
I
take
know.
all that money, and
I know.
then they're gonna go and they're gonna buy more guns with it. That's what they
Guess
do.
my I guess what I was saying is that
That's why
if
they
you
ran
can
the heroin trade.
I guess my idea was if you can control the Taliban enough that we can actually give most people the cash and that have the Taliban not be able to take the cash away from them. If you can do that, then
You
then
can't.
it
You have to take care of the Taliban problem first. You
yeah.
can't do that. That's
Well,
not a magic fix.
I mean, don't I don't know. Don't you think that when the Taliban was more under control back, sometime in the past, don't you think that it would have been possible? I'm not talking about now. I'm saying what
No,
should have been
no, no,
done.
no, no. Because I'm saying like just injecting money doesn't automatically create an economy. That's not how that works. Why UBI works in the United States is because we have the infrastructure and we have like
Yeah,
the people willing to create businesses in order to support that. Afghanistan's not the same way. Not
yeah.
everyone necessarily needs this cash in order to like live their day-to-day lives. Like having the cash is going to be nice, and
Mhm.
then they're going to be in a village where they don't have a road that goes anywhere, and the same people have been living there for hundreds and hundreds of years, and like the people the way they make their money is like literally goat farming. So then goats are going to
Mhm.
skyrocket. And it's just like it's not an effective way to like build an economy. This isn't how you build economy. You don't build economy by just injecting money into it unless you're an MTM guy. And even if you are an MTM guy, you need some sort of like sustainable service in order to produce you money, right? Like mining or like, exporting goods. Like, and they do export some goods, but they don't like export enough to make them more developed.
Yeah, but don't you see, like, if you give them money, like, somebody could then use that money to, like, purchase, some items from overseas, which will then enable them then with those, like, maybe some raw ingredients from overseas that they then
They
use to
they don't
combine
have
to
cell phone
manufacture.
towers in most they don't have cell phone towers in most of the country. They're
Yeah,
not gonna go on Amazon, scroll through and select something.
yeah. So that's why we need
They
infrastructure.
s
That's why you need to, if you're gonna do this, you
Right.
need
I
infrastructure.
don't Right, but, like, you're just looking at the long-term goal. You're
Yeah,
looking, like, what a country on the precipice of being a developed country looks like. You're not looking at a country that's undeveloped. You're not looking at an area that has, like, all of these, like,
well,
problems that
basically,
are specific to each province.
Yeah, I know, but I guess my point is also that we should develop the country. I mean, that's kind of
I
what.
don't
Yeah,
disagree, but the way you're talking
yeah.
about developing it is just injecting cash and then magic happens. That's not how that
No,
works.
no.
That's not
I
how
mean,
economy is built.
I didn't
Yes,
mention
that's
the
what you're
fact is
saying.
no, because I also said that we could like. I also definitely support keeping the Taliban at bay. So it does require like military stuff as well. And also building infrastructure, which means like government spending as well. So it's not just giving cash to people.
It, you make
It's
it sound way more simple than this is, and I'm telling you, going around and handing out bags of cash in Afghanistan is going to work well for anybody. And eventually, it's going to come to the point where people just start handing the bags of cash to the Taliban right away, like they did with foreign aid. It's just going to happen. What you need is create some sort of jobs program. You need to have some sort of like stimulus to the economy where people feel like they don't need the
yeah, but
Taliban.
don't
And
you
even
see?
then, and even then, the Taliban's still like still a minority of a minority in Afghanistan. What, Taliban 70, 60,000 strong in a country of 39 million people? It's not just like people are randomly joining the Taliban. They also get a lot of support from Pakistan as well in the ISI. This isn't a problem that's just fixed by UBI. This
Don't
isn't
you
going to
think?
fix anything.
Don't you think
No,
that
it
if
won't.
if you like provide proper like grids, you provide a proper like road, rail grid, proper electricity grid, proper internet coverage, if you did that in terms of infrastructure, then people, if you just have a sort of liberal economy, people can literally just start up their businesses at that point by or initially by buying like goods from overseas if there's nothing from locally, and then make a business out of that. You order stuff from overseas and then you do something with those things, and then you either just like be a retailer, resell them, or make
I don't
something
think
new
you know
out of
how
those things.
economies work. I straight up don't think you know how economies work. That's not how like economies function. You don't just like inject money and then magic happens. It's not how like things work.
Um, I feel like you could now that we've got internet. I think it could sort of change things now that you could just order stuff online. I
I
feel like
told you
you
most
could
of the
have.
country doesn't have cell phone
Yeah,
towers.
but I told you, I told you that my whole point is that we have to implement the infrastructure. Yeah, if we want
Why
to do
isn't
what I'm
more
saying,
infrastructure being built?
because we haven't decided to do it. I guess because the Taliban destroys
No,
it. But the
because
Taliban
no,
destroys it. Yeah.
yeah, they do. They do it every time. We've tried. We have a hard time building a highway that runs around the entire country. This isn't your the
Yeah.
the goals you want to set up are not
But
realistic for Afghanistan's situation right now.
wouldn't you consider that maybe um I don't know, like don't you think it's possible to keep the Taliban at bay enough if we had maybe more military power to keep them more at bay so that they don't destroy the stuff, like them and have like security people.
I'm not arguing against fighting against the Taliban. My argument
Mhm.
is saying that UBI is going to be ineffective for what you want. All right, so I'm going to give you another example. So I forget which province it was exactly. It wasn't Baghlan. What was it? Was it Balakla or I forget. There was a province in Afghanistan. It was one of the poorest ones,
Yeah.
and the United States needed to figure out a way to get money to inject here.
Yeah.
So the people there couldn't grow anything. They had like no agricultural sector, so we suggested this type of potato to grow there. We grew that type of potato. They started having tremendous success, and they became one of the more richer provinces in Afghanistan.
Okay.
This didn't happen because we just gave them money straight up. This happened because we gave them a solution to create jobs, and then with those jobs created
Sure.
the economy. The
Sure.
economy is not going to be built just based off cash, because if the economy is built just based off cash, like let's say Venezuela, for example, their dollar's not worth anything. It doesn't
Yeah, of
matter how
course.
much
Yeah,
cash
yeah,
you
yeah,
give
yeah.
them.
I know. I know. I'm not
Yeah,
suggesting just cash. I know it's not just, not just cash. But again, my point is that like I don't know, I feel that if we could keep the Taliban at bay and that thereby build proper infrastructure both in terms of like roads, like I said, electricity grids and internet, if we could do that, then I think we might not need all that much extra sort of government provided jobs programs, and we could just let like literally just liberalism
we're not
run
government
its
provided jobs
course.
program. We literally were just like, hey, here's this potato to grow. We'll show you how to grow it. And after that, they fucking did it. Like
Yeah, but
like I'm telling you, this is like the solution.
okay, but
This is how you
do
make
you
an
see
economy.
how about if we could do this, okay, just hypothetically, if we got the roads built, we got the electricity, got the whatever stuff you might need, also like water, whatever, plus internet. If we got that, presuming we got that, then we could go up and say, hey, look, this is all the ways that you could potentially build a business. We could show like you can maybe have like a little pamphlet or something showing like different like business models that they could follow on how to build their economy. It would presumably like potentially could involve importing stuff, but then recreating something, so it'd be like a sort of secondary sector if there's no like agricultural stuff to do, like if there's no primary stuff like mining or agriculture. I would suggest the secondary sector where you like import stuff from somewhere else and then you transform it and then you either sell it locally or you export it. um, Presumably like both. Don't you think that would be somewhat decent?
I think the ideas you're proposing are slightly fantastical. The examples I've given are real ones that have actually
Yeah,
been used and
I mean
actually
they're
effective. Except
yeah, admittedly they would they're much more intensive, I guess. I mean it requires a lot more effort. um
the thing is, it's not about like requiring more or less effort. The thing is, it requires providing a solution to the problem that fits the issue, right? So
yeah,
like foreign policy isn't a hammer, right? You don't just bang it into the
yeah.
fucking like nail every time. It's a different
Yeah,
nail every time.
yeah,
It's a different thing you're hammering it into, right?
yeah,
Like
of
we
course.
can't have the same solution for everything. And for building economies and like trying to give foreign aid and stuff like that, we've tried just like injecting money. We haven't necessarily tried going down with our military and like being like, here, take the money now. That's not how it works. But even if we do that and like we would like walk away because we only have so much manpower,
Yeah.
eventually some gang's gonna come up and they're gonna be like, yeah, give me the fucking money and I'm gonna go buy guns. I'm gonna go fight those army dudes. And that's how that shit works. Like you need to build some sort of like jobs program. You need to build some sort of like way where they can create money on their own. They can export stuff, like or they can have like companies come in, and it can be like this bilateral like trade thing, right?
So
Like a
also
free
having
trade
company,
agreement.
yeah, also having the companies come in. Exactly. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like,
Companies. I'm not against companies coming in, but the way you make it sound is you're like companies come in, they like give goods, and then they like sell the goods that the companies come in and get. That's not how that works. Like the companies come in with equipment and training, and then they train the people. They give them the equipment, and then the company takes the money they took
mhm,
to get the equipment. They take a profit, and the people in Afghanistan get some sort of like mining stuff done.
mhm.
They're probably the primary laborers, and you can pay them a lot more money. When they get paid a lot more money, they're like, ah, fuck the Taliban shit. That doesn't make any sense. And yeah, that's it. I know I'm making it sound simple, but that's like ideally how it would work. But there'd be like lots of other problems with that. But it would be a lot
Yeah.
more sustainable, and it makes a lot more sense for an economy than just like hoping some Amazon warehouse comes in and they sell them stuff.
Okay, but like, wouldn't companies, if you like manage to keep the Taliban at bay, and you've got proper infrastructure, like that would create a vacuum. You'd expect, businesses want to find new niches, right? They find new fertile ground. So businesses would logically just come in as long as you've got a business friendly environment.
Not necessarily true. Wait. No. I would say the Midwest is actually extremely business friendly. Why do some Midwestern states like Michigan and like Pennsylvania and Ohio have issues with replacing their manufacturing jobs?
Mm. Well, that would
They
be
have
just
tip.
from more from for like outsourcing, like just
Yeah, but
making
why aren't
stuff.
businesses replacing it? They're usually pretty friendly environment. The
Oh yeah.
taxes are like
I
why are those states getting hung and dry? Like why?
oh well, okay, so for certain, like for the manufacturing stuff, it would be the outsourcing. For other business environments, I would suggest it's because businesses like to be in places where there are other businesses nearby. It's sort of like, the sort of Silicon Valley kind of thing. They're
They're
so
not
yeah,
they're not producing a good or a service that does anything. Detroit's not producing a good or a service that sustain their economy like it did in the past. They
yeah,
found no way to replace that. That's where they're at. And businesses are going to come in, and I guarantee, and I promise you, Detroit's tried. You can look up all the different things that every Detroit mayor said they've gonna done. You look up how much they've tried to like cut taxes for like corporations and stuff. No one wants to fucking move there because there's not producing a good or a service. People are moving to other cities because they are producing some good or service, right? Austin, Texas is producing a lot of like IT technical people, a lot of cybersecurity guys. They have a good infrastructure for it too. So people are moving out there. They're moving their businesses to there. And there's also have like no income tax. They also have like tax benefits.
mm,
But like there's a good or a service that they're giving out that produces something, right? It's not just that like the environment is set up for the business. It's that there's something that the business is attracted to, which is why people lobby for Amazon to set up their headquarters there, right? Remember
Of
when
course.
every city went around
Yep.
and they
Yeah.
were
Yeah. Yeah.
like, please come to our fucking city. They're like, we won't tax you a goddamn thing. It's because every city was trying to lobby for itself. Because if they got Amazon, that'd be a boost to their city and, like, not that many other people.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and
yeah. You're gonna go out.
I'm probably gonna head out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. Yeah. Sure. Sure. All right. Well. Thanks for the discussion anyway. I mean,
Alright.
I like having the discussions here. It's much nicer environment than pretty much anywhere else. So. So.
Hopefully I
Yeah.
didn't go too hard, but
No. No.
I
No.
would just
That's good.
say
That's the kind of a
I would
discussion I appreciate. That kind of, you don't call me as fucking like evil person because like I don't exactly say the same stuff that you do. So you don't like, yeah, I don't know. It's just weird how like I mean, I'm very harsh against like actual like certain right wing people that are like have the sort of nasty right wing stuff, especially. I'm very harsh with them. So, like, my point is that it's okay to be harsh to people who are like literally have nasty beliefs, but I just don't see how they think I have nasty beliefs, and so yeah, yeah, that's that.
I'm gonna go ahead and head
All
out.
right,
Have a good one.
yep, all right, see you around. Bye. Oh, there you go. Oh, sorry, I didn't add you in. You could have just gone. It was up to you to go. Come join us. Come join us another time. Archer CA. Just join Archer CA. Just lets anybody in.